Hello! I would like to say hopefully I'm live, but oh, what a day. Right, while we determine if you can indeed hear me, I'll give you, I'll set your expectations. We're in the UK. We like rain. We're in Manchester, so it rains most of the time. But unfortunately, at the moment, it's 43 degrees outside, which for the Fahrenheit folk is 109. Inside, it's considerably warmer than that. So, unfortunately, the machine's taken one on itself. If the audio, I'll go quiet, you listen. If you can hear something, it's either the traffic or my fan. My fan is not, unfortunately, on me. It's pointing at the computer. So fingers crossed everything works. But at the moment, it's taken me over 4 minutes to open YouTube. So if it gets to the silly stage, we'll do it again another day. But fingers crossed. So if we all send positive vibes, it might just work. Now, before we get going, you know how the chat deletes everybody that gets in early? I don't know why YouTube do that, but they do. But the first person I saw in the chat was Zahari. So good evening to you. Also, a special hello, little bit of a shout out there, to Jammy and his other half, who likes my hello, apparently. So good evening and welcome to all of you. Fingers crossed it's all going to work. Right, I'm going to get on with it. Oh, excellent. Peter says you can hear me. Jolly good. Right, let's see how it goes on with PowerPoint. I've got nothing running that I don't need. But unfortunately, I need quite a lot, so there's a problem. Right, let's see if it works. Are the slides at least moving? No, they're not. Should we try again? No. Oh, they are! Good grief. But look, they're moving in episodes. I'm not confident with this, but we'll press on anyway. I'm Elaine. Most of you will know that. If not, hello, if you are with us for the first time. Right, we are attempting to broadcast full stop, but particularly in 1080p, so fingers crossed for that. YouTube, however, will probably not have you at 1080p, so there is a cog in the lower right-hand corner of the video. Go down there and make sure you are watching in 1080, or it all might be a little bit on the blurred side, if you can see it at all. While you are down there, there is a like button, you know, just for the sheer effort that I've gone to so far. Go on, give it a like. You can also subscribe, and there is a notification bell. The notification bell will let you know when we go live, so you don't miss anything. The notification bell might be a little bit premature, however. Right, Affinity Publisher works on Windows and Mac, and there is nothing tonight that does not work on both platforms. There is nothing for me to even point out. So that's good news. Right, so what are we going to look at? Right, we've got flat planning. I'm only briefly mentioning that, just that it's a jolly good idea. Then asset collection and management, again, just briefly mentioning it. We will have a dedicated session on that somewhere in the future. Then we are going to start the magazine publishing, which is creating a cover. We're then going to create some base master pages before doing a layout of a single story. We will talk about sections and why we may need them, or why you might not bother. Then we'll do some additional master pages. Then we will be working with external files, because a lot of content for magazines comes from external places. It could be clients, it could be advertisers. So we will look at that. And then we will be making magic with tables of contents. It potentially will blow your mind, because we've done tables of contents, we've done a dedicated section. Mike can put the link in for that. But this is thinking of it specifically in relation to magazines and how a table of contents works in a magazine. Then we have been asked about continued on and continued from, which is normally in desktop publishing applications, you can link two frames together and you have an option to add at the bottom a little note that says this story is continued on page whatever. And then on the next page where it is continued from page whatever. Affinity Publisher? No, doesn't like that. But there is a way. So it falls under the bonus category. Okay. Right. I know you will have questions. I'll have questions as well. I'm questioning whether PowerPoint's going to survive this. Put the questions in the chat. Put a Q at the beginning, and we will gather them all together to answer at a relevant point. If you could also give a little bit of context. because there's a delay and it makes it quite difficult for me to work out what the question was if you say, what was that dialog box? So a little bit of context, that would be great. So, designing a magazine in Affinity Publisher. It won the Popularity Award for Can We Look at That? So that's why we're doing this one first rather than some of the others. Right, so first of all, before you even get going, flat planning. Flat planning being a very manual way of working, because although you can start the magazine in Affinity Publisher and just start working with it, trust me, as it starts to get beyond like 4 or 5 pages, it gets complicated. I flat planned little brochures with 8 pages, and honestly, it was a really good idea. I then did one that was about 16 pages, and I had to try and explain to Mike the physicality of it, and I actually made a physical flat plan. So one way of working with a flat plan, come on, you can do it, you can move this slide on, is something that looks like that, and you can print it out on A4 and literally just draw on it. You could keep it digital if you want to, but what you're using the flat plan for is indicating what goes where. There's a cross in the first box and a cross in the last box because those pages don't exist. Page 1 being the cover and page 28 in this case being the back cover. What I do first is work out what's going where in terms of content. Now, I will then probably print this out. I'm not confident with this. It's taking about 20 seconds for the slides to move on. So heaven help us when we get into Affinity Publisher. But I've indicated here advert pages with yellow. The editorial is green and the contents is orange. The rest of it, the blue, is the actual text within it. So I've indicated that, but that is like quite superficial, but it's still useful. What I would then do is if I've got letters to the editor and I've got the help section, I would then write that on or type it on like I've typed cover on. And it just gives you a bird's eye view of the content. You don't want to get in there and have something on the wrong page that you don't realise until it's gone off to print or you've created your PDF with it. So that's what I do to start with. The second thing that I do that makes life a whole lot easier is asset collection. Once you start working, it's tempting. It's a bit like if you're a programmer and you dim X as an integer, and then you come back and you've no idea what you meant by X, none at all. With the assets, you might start off with, I'll just try this and I'll just try that, and then you get to like it, and then it's like, where did that file go? And you've no idea. So you've got a few options. Your first option is free, and it can be adequate. Just use the file system. I use the file system when I'm doing a demonstration. So tonight I have a core folder, and within that folder I have one extra folder for every demonstration. Each one is numbered, and within it are the files that I need for that demonstration. That works for me because it's files and they're demonstration files, so I wouldn't particularly put them in a live system. But your magazine is going to be a live thing. So you may want to have access to these in a system. So one system that you could use is Adobe Bridge. Adobe Bridge is free. You do need an Adobe account, but it is completely free. And that allows you to manage the files in a visual way. But of course, there is a big fly in the ointment of Adobe Bridge. And that is, it doesn't support previews of Affinity Publisher, Designer and Photo files. But it's free. Another alternative, the best alternative as far as I'm concerned, is called Eagle. And you can get that from eagle.cool. That is one of the very best apps for asset management. It's a one-off cost of about £38–39, and that is for a lifetime license. So whenever an update comes out, even a major update, you get it free. Can't buy enough licenses for that myself. It really is very good. We will have a session on that in the future. So with however you're going to organise your stuff, organise it. Right, so the first thing that we're going to look at is the page setup for a magazine. So let's get rid of Photoshop before something melts, and let's get Publisher up. It's having a think about it. Shall I have a look at how my CPU usage is going in Affinity, in Activity Monitor? Oh, not bad, I've seen worse. Oh, it's peaking again. Right, we'll get on and see what we can do. So I'm starting completely from scratch with this. The first thing I'm going to be making is a cover. So I'm going to go to File and New. And we'll go to the presets and start from scratch. Right, first thing you need to think about is this for web distribution as a PDF, or is it for print? I always work on the principle, even if I'm told, no, it's for the web. I don't want to be told at the end of the project, actually, we've decided it's so good we're going to print it. You're like, no, because you then have work to do. So I always work on the premise it's going to be printed. It doesn't matter if it's not, you can still create a PDF from it, and you can compress that PDF as far as you need to. So I always work from that point of view. But with it being a magazine, first thing really to think about, once beyond are you printing it, is what size is it? Now, a magazine, they tend to be around A4 or letter size. Some of them have in the past been a little bit wider than that. I know this for a fact. When I get a paper magazine, once I've read it, I want to scan it and then get rid of it. It doesn't fit the scanner because it's too wide. They have trimmed down magazines, to be honest, lately. Most of them are A4 if they're a magazine. An exception to that would be A5 if it's a fanzine. So many, many moons ago, when I was going to Old Trafford alone, there was a fanzine called Red Issue. And it's all about Manchester United. Really funny fanzine. It would make no sense to make that A4 because you're at a match and most people want to fold it in half and slip it into their back pocket. So that one was A5 to do that with. And to be honest, I have not seen anybody who did not do that with that fanzine. So the size is going to depend on what type of material it is. For me, I'm going to go for A4 for this. So everything that we see in here is pretty standard in terms of what I've done in the past with this. So I'm going to briefly go through it. It's A4, it's portrait. I don't prefer linked images. I prefer embedded images. Obviously the file can get huge, but the benefit is I'm not going to lose those images. And you can change your mind later. So I'll just go with that at the moment. See, it says number of pages 1. That's because I previously had used this to make a cover. A cover can be made in Affinity Publisher, obviously, and it can be part of the full magazine, the full document, but it can also be created separately in Affinity Designer if you want. So I will include it in here. So I'll put some extra pages in to give us a little bit of context. We'll go for an 8 pages. Facing pages, obviously, I've got them horizontal and they're starting on the right. I've then got CMYK, and this time I've not had to change the colour profile to Fogra 39, which is my default. My printers have told me that, because I've changed it at system level. So it's not going to remind me about that. Then I've got the margins. What size do I want the margins? Now, for a cover, the cover itself could be very different from the magazine. You may choose to have a very wide margin because you want to have headers and footers with information in it. But I'm going to make this my standard because that's what I'm going to use for the cover for a start. So I have got 10, 10, 10 and 15. So I'm having a little bit wider at the bottom because I'm going to put page numbers and running footers across the bottom. And the standard bleed of 3mm. So that is very similar to other things that we've actually created. So let's see how long it takes to appear. Not bad, not bad, getting there. Okay, so what to think about with the cover of a magazine? Really, it's the content that you need to think about at this point. So strong imagery with plenty of white space. And you probably want a masthead as well. So because I've got this margin on it, I'm going to create one with a frame. So how I would do that, I'm going to want an image, and I'm going to want the image to fill that bit there. But because this is the cover, I won't have a page number on the cover. So in this one, I would be looking just for this page to have 10mm at the bottom. Now, there's 15 at the bottom at the moment, so what do we do with that? Well, this master is the one that's determining what we've got there. So if I make a new master and I call this full page, which to me means it's got no headers and it's got no footers. Right, I can go into my margins and change that one to 10 and OK. If I then apply this full page master to my cover page, where are we up to? You should see that now where I had that was 15, but now I can drag it down and I've got that centered beautifully on the page. So that's where my image is going to go. But I also want a frame behind it in a lovely bright colour, because we're going to make this beach life. So I'm going to put that behind it. At the moment, it's not behind it, so I will change it in the layers order over there and get it behind it. And what I would like for that is a really bright yellow. As I said, it's beach life. Right, put that behind it. Now, the image frame at the moment, you might think you've just made that yellow. No, I actually haven't. You can put a colour in there, just so that stands out that that is your image. Thus. So this is my background, that's the image. The background itself may have other elements on it, but at the moment it's just that square, but I don't want to move that square. Don't particularly need the image moving either, but I need an image to put in there first. So let me navigate to my covers that I have. Oh no. This is a nightmare. Right, covers. And I've got one that I can show you that I did before as well. But what I'm going to do in here, let's use a stock image, because there's a really nice stock image that we use quite a lot and it'd work well for this. Right, so I'm doing a search for beach, and there is a perfect image for a cover. Let's see if that works. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Oh, it's in a good mood. Right. That is because this one gives me great space. It gives me space for a masthead at the top. It gives me lots of space to put teasers about what's on the inside. But I can probably make that a bit bigger, and I would want to bring that in. So what I'm doing is placing it so I've got a perfect blank space for everything. Now, one thing to think about with this is, if I were to scale that down a bit so I've got more space by moving that over there, then I've given myself an issue at the top of here, which is it doesn't quite fill it. And it needs to, because the masthead's going across the top. There's two ways that you can fix that. You know that had a purple fill, because I filled it with like a pinky purple, and it's gone. There is an option for that, and it's these options here. Clear fill on populate, and the default is it will clear the fill. If I put that back though by clicking that, so now when I add an image it doesn't clear the fill, what I can do with that is go and get a fill from the edge of this, somewhere near the middle, so say that blue there, and fill that frame with blue. And it's a bit of a fake, but it sorted it out. You can see the join. You don't need to see the join if you put a bit of a patch over the top of it. So if we open this up and click on the image itself, and this obviously works in things other than magazines, but if I grab the image itself and then the transparency tool, and we draw up there a bit, that's not what we're wanting at all. Why have we got that in it? It's that we want, right. No, not on there, crying out loud. Right, need to draw this down. It's not going nicely. Let's put it like that. Let's try and fix it. No, it's not working properly. Oh, this was working before. It's not working now. Must admit, I did it the other way. I did it the more manual way. But making sure that that is working, that should be working. Let's select nothing and make sure we've got that and try again. Let's try that. No, it's insisting on being grey. So I've obviously done something with it somewhere and it doesn't like it. But it's good enough. The other way of doing it, if you don't want to rely on that, or if you've got a difficult image to work with, is instead of filling the frame, so if we take that out of there, get onto the picture frame, and say no, don't fill it, is the simple way, which is just draw something out that covers it slightly. I'm going to put this in a specific place as well to make that work. But what I will do in there, let's see if that one's working again. Fingers crossed, hey? Let's draw that in. It's not liking it at all, is it? It isn't. Oh dear. I did tell you the machine was not in a very good mood today, and it clearly is not in a very good mood today. Right, have I got that there or not? No, it's disappeared now. Where's the box I've just drawn? I'm determined to make it through to the end of this, you know. It might kill me. Right, there we go. I'm going to use this one and cheat. It's easier. Right, if we put that on there, I'll take that down there. What I'm looking to do at that end is not have that colour on it. I don't actually want any colour on it at that end. Oh, it's dying a death. No, it's not having it tonight. I can possibly do it. Oh, by turning it around and taking that up there, but oh, it's not going to look great. I'm going to leave that. Ah, fingers crossed everything else works out okay. Oh no. Right, let's get that back to where it was. I'm going to do it by making it a bit bigger. That wasn't spectacular, was it? Right, let's put that back in place and get back to what we were doing. Right, I need a masthead on there. And I'm going to call this Beach Life. Right, so I've got the text in there. It doesn't look much like a masthead at the moment. Most of a masthead is the style of it. So looking at it like that, no. But I'm going to choose a different font and it's going to spring to life and look incredibly different. So the font I'm going for is one that I usually use for like an out of Africa approach. I actually forget what it's called, but I'll know it when I see it. There it is. Is it Budmo? No, it wasn't Budmo. It looked a little bit like Budmo, but it wasn't Budmo. I should have made a note of what this font was, but we'll take the scenic tour while I find it. And I did install a couple of extras as well. Oh, come on, where have you gone? You see how jerky it is when it's scrolling? We're not getting anywhere fast here. Oh, where's it gone? That'll teach me to make a note of the font, won't it? No, I don't see it at all. Right, I can cheat. I can open up one that had the font in it. Let's go and do that. Right, this one's very similar. And I'll be able to see the font. If it ever opens. There we go, Beach Life. Right, what's the font? What is the font? Oh. I can only put this down to the heat. Now it isn't even selecting anything. And it's gone on to stock. And it could crash any moment now. I haven't even got a spinning beach ball of death. That's when you know it's bad, isn't it? Let's have a look over here. Let's open this up. And where's my font? There we go. Phosphate. I didn't scroll far enough. Right, let's go over to here and find phosphate. Okay. Fingers crossed. This could run long, couldn't it, at this rate? Right, there we go. So, as it happens, that was the perfect image because life is smaller than beach and this straw goes up into it. So it's absolutely perfect. There was one thing that wasn't quite so perfect. I thought the E and the A were slightly too close. Just a font thing. So if I select the E and I change the size of it in here, the gap. Did I get a bit of... I did. You can see the A moving. And that looked just a little bit better to me. So just a tiny tweak with that. Right, other things that you need to think about once you've got your masthead. Putting a date on it. So I think I had the date somewhere over here. Are you going to let me draw something out? No, you're not. Let's draw it over there. And put summer 2022, which is panning out to be a little bit warmer than I hoped. Right, I don't want Arial. I want something like Couture, which is quite blocky, so it's easy to read. Where's Couture gone? There we go. And pull that back onto here and get it in a suitable spot. So probably lined up with the H, which means I might have to move the straw a bit. And I did want that yellow, so let's do that. And align it to the right. So now I need to go back to the image and move that a bit. That's going to give me problems at the top, unless I make it smaller at the bottom. So I would do that if I was doing this perfectly. Right, other things that you may need to put on here. You may need an issue number. With this one, it might be redundant if you've already got summer 2022 on it, but you might need an issue number on it. Another thing you might want on it is a price. So what I'm going to do with this is copy that. That might be a little bit too small, actually. What should I have done already? Right, so if you're with me live, have a think about what should I have done already. Now, I mention that because designing a magazine is there's a lot of overlap between designing a magazine and designing anything else. And you can't go over everything that you've already demonstrated before. But everything that I've demonstrated before is just as relevant in here. So what should I have done before this stage, based on how many things I've got on there that are yellow? So have a think about that. Right, so I'm going to put a price on this of £3.99. So let's put that on there. And what else may you have on a cover? Well, you may have, if it's a magazine, I mean, if it's something like a church magazine maybe, or an unofficial thing, you might not need this. But if it is an official thing for something or other, you may have an international standard serial number, an ISSN, which you have converted into a barcode. So you see barcodes on magazines, they're usually scanned at the checkout, aren't they? And they are unique to each publication and each issue of a publication. So I have downloaded a sample from the authority that provides these barcodes. And what that looks like, let's bring that on so you can see it. This is the sample. You unzip it and it gives you this folder over here. It gives you the same ISSN in various formats. So there's a CSV. Now a CSV would be used if you've got multiple copies of a magazine. But then you have a barcode in JPEG, PDF, PNG and SVG. This is a certificate that you will get once you register your publication and are allocated an ISSN. So it's a proof of the fact that you own it. Right, so I'm just going to use a very basic thing in here. We will use the most simple, we'll use the PNG. And all I'm going to do with it is you can put it wherever you like. Most magazines it's on the front. I think I've seen a couple on the back, but they tend not to put them on the back because the back tends to be a standard advert. So what I'm going to do in here, it's opened it up as a separate file. I will copy that, then go back in here and paste it, and then find somewhere to put it. Now, you don't really want it obscuring anything else. You could have it down here, but prime real estate really, isn't it? What I did with this one when I was demonstrating this is I turned it sideways and I put it next to that, so you kind of didn't really notice. Well, that's as near didn't really notice as you're going to get with that. But it doesn't distract too much from the cover. But that's what that is there. Right, what else do we need on there? Oh, right, let's have a look here. Mrs. Yarnold says textiles, document palette. Document palette was the one I was thinking of. Yes, I would create textiles for these. The reason I'd bother to create textiles is I would probably make the cover, in reality, outside the actual magazine and bring it in as a full page later. And by doing that, it means I can set up a template for this. And one of the things it makes sense to do, so we've got the beach life, we've got the background, we've got the price, and we've got the summer 2022, is make a custom palette. Well, actually, it's a global colour, and that will create a document palette. So in here at the moment, you can see I don't have any document palettes. They would be at the top, but I don't have any at all at the moment. So I'm going to go into here and say add a global colour. And the global colour that I want to add is that yellow. So I'm going to use this to hover over it, pick up that colour. click on it, which will load it into the colour. If you only do the first part and you don't click on there, when you've selected it, you'll get black. That has happened to me a million times. Right, so in here, we will call that main colour. Because it is the main, oh dear, if I could spell main colour. It's going to be the main colour of the issue. That makes it easy to change it later. So I would add that. Now that alone is not enough to make these change. Because if I go into this and edit that fill, and it'll have a think about it, and I change the sliders in here, so I'm just going to change that. Nothing is changing. The colour is changing up here, but nothing is changing. That's not good. So I'll make sure I've got that where it should be, and then apply the colour by going through what I've done in here and applying it. Obviously nothing will change because we picked up that colour. That is locked, but we will grab that and do that. And then to make sure that that has indeed changed, not good if it hasn't, let's go in and slide it. And yes, all of those have changed. Right, let's change them back. Perfect. So yes, and yes, I would create text styles as well. So we got Peter saying that as well. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so we've got that. The other thing that you would see on a cover. So at this point, I've got all of that, everything is really the background. So I'm going to group that and just call it main cover. You could put it in a layer of its own if you want, if you work with layers. I'm going to lock it because I'm not going to make any changes to the rest of that now. But what I do need to do is think about the content on the page, which is called the article teaser. So we need some article teasers. Right. An article teaser usually has two parts. It has like a headline to it, and then it has underneath that a little bit of a teaser for it. That is something, just like we've done the global colour, that you are going to reuse in the future. So what does it look like? Well, if you just put a text frame on there, like that, and then you need to have two elements in it. Let's say your beach guide. Right, now we can't see that too well, so straight off that colour isn't going to work that well, but we will select that and we'll pick a blue. Are you going to think about changing at all? Excellent. Right, so your beach guide. That's the title of it, and then underneath that, probably not in bold font. Let's take that. Oh, that font is actually bold. We can't do anything with it. I'll tell you what, let's put it in italics and see how bad that looks. Right, your beach guide. A comprehensive guide to European beaches. That doesn't look great. In 2022. Right. Let's get a different font for that. I would just really want to do this so there's a big difference between them. Right, that won't work at all. What have we got? How about Avenir, which is easy to read? Avenir. How does that look? It'll look better when it's not in bold and italic. So let's make sure it's not bold and it's not italic. Right. You may want that bigger, depends on the type of thing it is. But in essence, you need a title and you need a description underneath it. Right. Now, this is where it might get a little bit tricky, but it's worth doing this. Right. We're on to text styles, and we need to create two text styles. One for the headline at the top, and one for the explanation underneath. So, what's the best way to do that? Now, I've also done an entire session on styles, which Michael put the link in the chat now. And all these links are below in the description as well. But the thing with this is, you can take this further than you might imagine. And therefore, it's important to get it right at this point. At the moment, there's no styles on either of those. So let's say the headline style there, we would like that to be a little bit bigger. Right, so let's take that up to 14. and that's fine as it is down there. So we want something that looks like that. Right, over here, these are the textiles we've got. There's no textile applied whatsoever at the moment. I've got this displayed, yours may look differently. I'm showing the hierarchical look to this, and then I'm sorting by type. It makes most sense. Coming off the base style, which is the underlying style, are all of these styles. First of all, there's body, and then bullets and headings. And when you go into the body, there's a whole lot more. But there are occasions when you don't want a style to be part of the tree. This is new. We've never done this before. Right, I'll explain why shortly. But first of all, how? How do you create something that's not part of the tree? Well, I'm going to create a new style. So I'm hitting the new style paragraph option at the bottom. But I actually don't want it to be a paragraph style. Here we can, after we've clicked whatever button, we can still change the type. So I'm going to create a group style. A group style isn't particularly a style that you would apply. It's a kind of admin style that you use to put other styles inside. Why bother? Well, the elements of the styles that are the same, so the font face it's using, or maybe the colour, all of the common features you define at the group level. And that way, if you want to change the font or you want to change the colour, you change it once at the group level. And then the individual exceptions, you create styles within the group. Right, but before we go any further, this is fraught with pitfalls. Here's the group I'm going to create. It's not based on any style, and I would be calling it article teaser. I would not be doing that. Article teaser. But look at all this that's going on already at the bottom. Good grief, I'm scrolling and scrolling. All of that is already applied to it, so it would be a nightmare to try and work out the exceptions to it. But you can reset the formatting, and now it's all neat and tidy. And you won't find down the line that you've done something and you have no idea why it doesn't look the way it's supposed to look. And the reason it wouldn't look the way it was supposed to look was that there would already be some hidden styling in there, in that box. So we've cleared it. So this is like an empty egg box we're about to put eggs in. We've just defined the egg box. When we add it, it should be added over here. It's added at the top level. And you'll see it doesn't have a symbol telling you it's a character style or a paragraph style, because it's not. It's a group style. So it's at the same level as the base style. It doesn't have the disclosure triangle because it doesn't have any children yet. But we're about to let it have some children. So this one at the top is the article teaser headline, and we need a style for that. So I'm going to go in and make a paragraph style. And yet again, look at this lot. No. Right, let's get rid of it. We don't need the majority of that. Oh dear. I don't think I clicked the right button there at all. Let's do it again. That wasn't the button I was aiming for. What can I say? It's far too hot. Oh, come on. Right, reset formatting. That's what I was looking for here. Right, so at the moment it's saying it's based on a style, and I don't want it based on a style. It must have made that. I must have clicked OK. So let's go there first of all and delete it. I don't want any errant styles flying around. Right. So we're looking for... Oh, no. Hang on. All kinds of horrific things have happened. Right, let's get rid of that. OK, that's where we were. I have just undone a couple of times, so we're back where we were. Right, so in here, first thing I'm going to do is name it. Article teaser heading. Right, I need this to be based on the article teaser. That will do two things. It will inherit all of the style settings from the article teaser, and it will also mean that in the styles panel, the text styles panel, it will nest it underneath it. So in here, choose the article teaser. Right, I don't think I need all of this, and I'm pretty confident I reset it and it worked. But I'm not at all sure that is going to work at the moment. Oh, it is, that's fine. OK, it seems to be working. So far, so good. Right, you can, of course, this is where you would make the exceptions. But if it looks right at the moment, then I'm not going to need to do anything with that. I will probably have to do something with this in here. We'll find out. But what's happened over here is our article teaser has got a paragraph style in it, which is the article teaser heading. I now need to make another style, and this one is for the content of it below. So I'm going to give it a name, which is article teaser text. A knock-on effect of doing it this way is that with that turned on to a hierarchy in the styles, you know exactly where the styles are. The actual styles you're going to apply are within a group, and I've got it ordered alphabetically, so it makes it a whole lot easier. Right, this one is also going to be based on the article teaser. You might be wondering why. So let's have a look at it down there. There are some changes that I made to it. So if I cleared this, you can see it says no changes. But actually, from the article teaser, there are some changes that I would want. The font I need to change because we had it as Avenir. So I'm going to make that Avenir. But the colour came from its parent. So the only change I made was Avenir and possibly the font size. I can't remember if I did that. One was 14 and one was 12. If I want to make absolutely certain that this is 12, then I can set that in here. So I've got the article teaser style and I've got the differences to it, not 14 scrollable pages of settings, and click OK. Right, so down here, this one is article teaser. You can see that there, article teaser text. And this one is the article teaser heading. Now, coming from somewhere, there must be a gap between here. There's quite a considerable gap. So in this heading, I'm suspecting I need to change something in there to pull this paragraph up towards it. I would suspect that we have some spacing set somewhere. So if we go to the spacing, you'll see the spacing after is set to no change. That means it's inheriting whatever was set at its group level. But if I take this down, there is 0, and 3 or 4 looks about right. So I'm making an exception. It's article teaser format plus a space after a 4, which lines it up nicely. And now I have an article teaser. Right, so let's have a look what that looks like. Let's look at the page. That's the kind of thing you tend to see on a magazine. If you want it a bit narrower than that, you can narrow it down. Sometimes they're centred. It might look nice centred. So you have a play around with it till it looks like you like it to look. And I'm quite happy with how that looks there. But if I wanted to move that, so I decided, I could put it up there, then the blue won't work. The yellow might, but the blue definitely won't. You've got a couple of options. You could go in and click on the colour up there. That is still, it still has the styles applied that you've applied. But at that stage, you've added something to it. So in the text styles here, it's got the plus next to it as well. That's all it means, that the style's applied, but you've changed something. A better way to do it is to have a set of styles for each colour that you want. But you don't want to have to go into both of these styles and change the colour. So if you went into the group style, the article teaser, remember this, what this has in it applies to all the styles below it that are based upon it. Then in the colour and decorations in here, we put a tick in there and we go and choose one. And if I go to the swatches, I'm taken to the document palette that we've got, and there is the global colour. And apply that. And you're not rippling through. Why are you not rippling through? Oh, for crying out loud. Oh, I wonder if the machine's as hot as I am. You should definitely be rippling through, but you're not. And now it's hung. It's thinking about it. Oh, come on. No, it's not doing it. Oh, hang on. Right, let's try again. You should definitely be yellow. Why are you not yellow? Well, you're yellow there, aren't you? Let's see if this is picking it up from there. It definitely should be. Right. If this is set to based on, so up here, it's based on the article teaser, and the colour is no change. It should be working, but it's not. Okay. It's taking one on itself, but you understand the principle. This is going well, isn't it, Mike? Oh, I'm liking Peter's idea of crushed watermelon with ice. Oh, that does sound... All I've got is some cold tea. But there you go. It's having one on itself at the moment, but not to worry. That's the principle. If it wasn't so hot, it would probably be working. But another reason I need to explain why, at this point... Oh, hang on, I wonder if that's why. I've got a heading and a plus in there. Oh, let me just try if that might work. Right, let me grab hold of that. Oh, this might work. Right, let's... I want to apply it and overwrite all of that lot is what I want. And it's gone yellow. Okay, operator error, I take it all back. I must have had that manually set. And I must have had that manually set. So if I override all of those, they are now yellow, as they should be, when we had that up there. And now if I go in to the master one, let's just prove that it does actually work. Oh, what colour shall we make it? We haven't got another global colour, but we'll go for something hideous. Should we go for the orange? Burnt orange, and fingers crossed. Yay! There you go, it does work. It really does work. These styles are a nightmare. Right, now why did I do all of that? And I'm just going to turn that back to this colour as well. Why did I bother to do all of that? And why is the article teaser group not nested under base? Right, let me explain why. Once you've got your article teaser, you may want to do this with it. So I'm going to put it up there. And this is to save you time in the future. So bonus tip on time. Right, article teaser heading. You'll notice there are no spaces in there. That is deliberate because I want to be able to quickly select it. And this would be the text. So I'm just going to put AT text. Article teaser text, not test. Like that. Right. In fact, that would probably make more sense there, wouldn't it? So we can read it easier. AT. Right. Why have I done that? Because we want that to be a template of sorts. And how we make that a template is to go into the assets, and I will make some demo assets. So a new category of assets. It's called it assets 2, but you can rename that to demo. Demo assets. And with that selected, I can go up here and I can say on the assets down there, add from selection. And that will add the entire text block. I can then rename that. That is article teaser. Right. Now, nothing spectacular at that point. All I would be doing with that is dragging it on here. So if I wanted another article teaser up there, I can drag it on there and then change the text. Here's where the magic happens. If this was a completely new file, so I'm going to get one of my plain documents. It's a completely new file. It will be when it gets there. Oh, you can do it. Come on. Or not. You know that moment when you're thinking, shall I try again? And then just as it springs into life. No, that definitely wasn't what I wanted. No, it's not going to spring into life, are you? Do you know, I think I'd be better with the fan on me rather than putting it on the computer because it's really struggling. Right, new, create. You can manage this, you know you can. No, it's telling me it can't do it. We need a new file or it won't work. So let's get rid of this one. Maybe it's in that much of a mood. No, you are not creating it. Come on. Whoa, well done. Right, I need to show you in here, before we do anything else, the styles that we've got. We have no style for paragraphs and characters. We have an emphasis and a strong in there. But most of the styles we have are nested under the base style. There is body, there's bullets, there's headings, there's numbering. And within body, there's a range of styles. But you know what there isn't? There's no article teaser styles whatsoever. Rather than manually having to create them all the time, if you were to drag the article teaser from the assets onto the page, this automatically got populated over here. We've got one missing, but it did automatically populate it. So we've got to the group and we should have both of them. I think the reason we don't is I deleted something to make it line up properly. So let me have a look what we've got in here. That one's correct. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add that one. Hang on. Add from selection. Right, so this is the one we're going to use. To prove the point in here, once we undo and those styles disappear, so away you go, styles. If I had added the thing correctly, and drag and drop it onto there, in comes the article teaser group style and the two styles within it. That is incredibly powerful. Right, there is one other thing to think about. You may wonder why I didn't add the article teaser group to the base group. And that way, when I change the base style, it would have rippled through to the article teaser. Well, one, I don't necessarily want any connection between the look of the base style and the look of the article teaser. But two, if I did that, and then I put it in the assets panel, when I drag and drop it from the assets panel, it drags and drops another base style, and I end up with base 1. So don't do that. When you think about styles, I mean, we've done a session on styles, but we did a session on styles, which was like, what's in a style? It wasn't actually style management. So let me know if a style management one would be good, because you're best off thinking of the styles up front and then working out what needs to be nested under what. So instead of having like one core source, depending on the document, in this case a magazine, you may have multiple core sources. And if you get that right, you can update a document in seconds, ripple all the way through it. If you get it wrong, it'll be a manual job that'll take weeks. So let me know if that's something you would like to see. Mrs. Yarnell likes that. Excellent. Okay, so just to give you an idea of the covers, this was the Beach Life one that I just designed. But the idea is, this was the one I was working on. And you can see there's one article teaser. There is another article teaser with a little graphic next to it. It's very simple to take a cover like that and make another one. So that one, the background was changed and a border was added to it. Let's go through to the next one. A much darker one, although the colours are there. You know, the image itself is much darker. But what they've got in common is they've all got negative space. I've changed this one and I've picked up the colours from the image that I've used. But again, the cover has got a lot of negative space. The images have negative space, and that's what you're looking for. So they're all different in terms of colour, but you can see from them that there is a commonality as well. If you saw that on a shelf, you would know it was the magazine that you were looking for. Last thing to think about in terms of cover design. So what I'm going to do is get rid of this. Those were for a specific type of magazine. So I don't need that one, but I should probably save this one before everything goes south in a hand cart. See what I mean? He's thinking about it. Let's just save it as untitled. That'll do nicely. Right, another thing to think about is when you're thinking about the design of it, it really needs to fit with the message of the magazine or the mood of the magazine. So with this one, it's bright colours. It's blues, it's oranges. Think of sunset colours, bright yellows, holiday colours. But a different type of magazine needs a different look to it. So one of the things that I work on, well, not recently, but quite often. Right. Let's get Eagle up. All of these aren't magazine covers per se. They are covers for recording notes. So Mike and I, we actually do have notes, believe it or not, for some Mac Bites. And when the show is done, I stick a cover on it and it becomes, in essence, a magazine, I guess. You can see I've got a masthead. I've got quite a large number, the show number. And the tone of this is very different. This is not a serious magazine. The light buses one. But some of them have the same colour masthead. Some of them, the masthead gets changed to fit in with it. But so they are all similar in terms of you would know that was on brand, but each one is incredibly different. And it suits the tone of the show. That would be inappropriate for a guide to taxation in 2022. But just something to think about. So I will close Eagle. That means we can get out of that. And is Renee being sarcastic here about next week, page 1? Naughty, naughty. Right, that's the cover. The cover's one of the most important things, and it is something that you might take quite a long time with. Right, but base master pages. So, I could use that one that I've just closed, couldn't I? Right, what base master pages do we need? Let me open that up. Untitled. There we go. What base master pages do we need? Well, we've already got one. So in our master pages here, we have one that was created when we created the document. And that one is blank, but it did have margins set, which included space for running headers at the bottom. This one that was full page did not. It had margins set at 10, 10, 10 and 10. And that was for when you didn't want page numbers on a page. You might want to think about marking a safe area with guides. Another thing you might want to think about is the layouts that you're creating. So if you're creating a layout with a story and it's got 3 columns and you want to be certain that you can put your graphics in the correct place, then you may want something like this. So we'll make C and we'll put the story. In fact, we can put story, 3 column story. Right. With this one and the margins, I probably do want the margins to allow for a page number at the bottom. And I probably do want them facing as well. So I'll create that, but I would need to do something with this. And the something that I would need to do is go to View and go to the Guides Manager. And we've seen the Guide Manager in other sessions. In this one, I want to add some columns to it. Now, if I want 3 columns in my stories, do I set it to 3? You could do, but if you want to place images and have them running between 2 columns of text, it's actually easier to set that to 6. And that way you can use 2 of them to represent the text. So if this is a full page story that I want with some text on it, so let's put some text over there. And choose in the columns, not 2, although even 2 would work out with the columns. You just have 3 lines in each. But if you do 3 in each one, you have 2. And that means if you wanted to put an image in it, and you wanted it to be halfway in that column of text and halfway in that column of text, you can use the guides to do it with. So let's take that and put that somewhere over there. What else do I need to do if I'm going to have these blocks for images like this? Let's see who can put that in if you are with me live in the chat. No problem, Renee. No, you're never sarcastic. No, okay, I'll let you off. And Peter says taxation is pretty funny at the moment. Well, can you imagine what the Tory party manifesto will look like? No, I'm not going to do politics. Let's leave politics alone. One thing I definitely need to do here, potentially 2. I'll go for the second one first. If this is going to be the first page of a story, it could do with a heading of some description, couldn't it? So I might want to take this down to a set place. Say I might want that at 200 there. You're going to let me set it to that? No, you're not, are you? Do you know what? Near enough. Right, let's say 200. That gives you space to put a heading in there. But there's still something else that needs to be done. So I'm going to give you a couple of seconds to think about it while I drink some of this cold tea. Do you know the tea isn't actually that cold, which just indicates how hot it is. I am seeing nothing in the text. There's two things that I may want to do with this. Possibly more, depends. If I look at that in here, I can't really tell that it's 3 columns. I have put 3C in the name of it. One option might be to grab the text frames, and as soon as I do that and I go to text, insert filler text, and the text looks absolutely appalling, but never mind that. That should indicate what the problem is. There's a good few things I could do with this to make this a nice layout for a story. First off, in here, apparently we've not got any style on that. It'd be nice to have the body style on it, wouldn't it? Right, that should indicate straight away a couple of problems. This text frame and this text frame, there is a text frame over here, isn't there? Did I make a text frame or did I not? Oh, I guess it's conceivable that I didn't, but I thought I did. Right, text frame over there. Not linked, and the text isn't running through it. So this text frame might as well do this job here, is link the first text frame to the second text frame, which instantly indicates a problem with the graphics, which is they do not have any wrap around them, and that one isn't even in the right order. But this one here doesn't have any wrap set on it, so I'm going to set a wrap on it there, and to make it square, and that will push the text down and it will give us a nice space around that. This one needs the same, but I can't select it, and that's because it's behind the text. So in the layers, I have picture frame 1 on the left, picture frame 2 on the right, but this text frame needs to move down to there. And that gives me this one, which means I can put a text wrap around that. And okay, starting to look decent, reasonably decent. Right, do I want to put the page numbers on this or not? So quick question in the chat if you're live, yes or no. Do I put... Obviously, these pages need page numbers, and master pages is the place to put page numbers. But do I put them on this page or not? I would put Mike on the spot, but I probably better not, as he's melting just like I am. I can do the page numbers while you have a ponder over it, because I know we're about 60 seconds behind. So, if I want page numbers, let's get the page numbers, but should they be on this layout or not? I'm going to put that all the way across there. I'm going to make it 1 column, definitely don't need 2. Peter's saying no, put them on a master page. Well, I'm not going to give you any clues until I've got more answers, but let's take that up there. And I'm going to want something down there in terms of page number. Right, just so we can see it, I will put page, but I probably wouldn't in a magazine. Then I need to go to insert a field and a page number. Renee would put them on here, Mrs. Yarnold wouldn't, and Peter wouldn't. Now, Peter said he wouldn't because it's on a master page. Your page number should be on a master page, but this is a master page. So do you want to reconsider, Peter? This is a master page. And Renee's saying he would put it on here as a master page. Right, so there's 1 page number. I am going to grab that, and I am going to make a copy of it over there. Right, get that spot in the right place, and I'm going to change that so it is aligning to the other side. Excellent. Mrs. Yarnold saying use multiple master pages. Phil saying no. And Renee saying he would put it on a master page. Well, it's going to depend. It's going to depend on the look of it. So at the beginning, that's not a great look. Now, for demonstration purposes and time, I am not fiddling around making styles for all of these anymore. But obviously, in reality, I would. So I've got my page numbers there on this master. That's not the best place to put them. So I'm going to cut those elements off there. I am going to go back and I'm going to make another master page. And I'm going to call this one page numbers. And OK. And paste them in. Now, this one is going to be applied to this one. So you're now creating a hierarchy of master pages. It's called Smart Masters. But what I'm going to do is, you can apply a master page to a page by dragging and dropping it. So if I take story 3 and drag it to pages 2 and 3, it will apply it. And if I go there, it's applied. And I can work in here, and I can put graphics in here. Actually, one more thing with these graphics that I do, that you may not, but it's probably worth doing, is grab hold of the graphics and you can apply a fill to them. And that way you're not going to miss the fact that they are there. It's in your face that there is there. So this one doesn't get page numbers. This one underneath does, the page numbers one. And instead of dragging and dropping it to a page, I am going to drag and drop it to there. And yes, it is so you can leave them out when you want by applying a different master. So this page, which is the master page, now has page numbers. But of much more significance, our page in here has page numbers. So this actually has two masters applied to it. You can have as many as you want, but if you're going to have more than a couple, I suggest you do a flat plan for your masters and just work out what should be applied where. Now, one of the things that was said about that, so you can leave them out when you want. So if I didn't want page numbers on this page, then I could apply a different master that didn't have page numbers. I could indeed. What if I wanted it on one side and not the other? What do you do then? Let me know what you would do with that. What do you do then? So we could have, the situation could be, we've got a graphic over here. That one's locked, but we will get, in fact, we'll draw one out. Another graphic that we want. And for whatever the reason, we want the graphic across there, across those two blocks there. That's all very well, but then that page number, you're not going to see it anyway. But if there was something where you just didn't want to see the page number, I mean, with that one, it would cover it up. But what if it was a background image? What if we wanted an image there, but we actually wanted it behind this lot? So if we applied to that an image, can we get that in the picture frame? Go on, put it in the picture frame. Go on, excellent. So it's behind the text. Obviously we would have some kind of magic going on here that we'd be able to read the text. But we can't actually see that page number, but it might look terrible if we could. So if we had that faded and then we got page number on it, it doesn't look great. Renee said he would edit the master detached. That's one way. But if we go into this, if we go into our page numbers, this is our master. All of this here is the master that we've got there. And you've got your page numbers here. And that one is the page number on the right, and that one is the page number on the left. And you can see there, you've got a problem in terms of you can't turn it off. But you can, come on, where have you disappeared to? I'm not seeing it now, it's disappeared. In fact, why is that behind that? Oh, I've got weirdness going on here. I have definite weirdness going on there. Definite. I will come back to that. That's one way to do it. You could apply a different one, but you're going to have to be very careful how you have these applied. And now that's gone weird as well. Now my chat's gone weird on top of everything else. But yes, you could edit it separately. So you can make exceptions to these things. Right, that was the base masters. So the other thing on the base masters is, do you want to mark out an area at all? And if you do, then do that with a base master. We did that, if you want to see it, in the photo book one, the first photo book one, which Michael put the link in for. Right, I guess I better get a story in here, hadn't I? Better get a story in. So I will start from scratch. And just show you it's incredibly... oh, we've got a question there. Would it be okay to do it the other way round? Thus you had one 3-column master without page numbers and one with page numbers. Yes, you could do it that way. It just the best way for you depends on the type of document, how many masters you've got, and how they're all interacting with each other. But there isn't particularly a right and wrong way, other than the wrong way would be to have them all totally separate and end up with like 5 3-column masters, all with different settings, which could be done in a nested tree. So that's the only exception to that. Okay, just a minute. Let me get your microphone on. That could take all night tonight. No, there you are. Where you go.
It was from Dale. Says using filler text on master pages doesn't transfer it to the regular pages, does it?
Let me have a look. I did that so you could see it. I don't normally do that. So let's have a look. Oh, come on. Spinning beach ball there. Right, this is the pages. It does transfer it, but you can then get rid of it. I'm pretty sure you can get rid of that. There you go. And then you put your own text in it. So I only did it so when you're looking at the master pages, it's obvious that it's a 3-column layout, and then you make an exception to it, and then you put your text in later. Okay, so back up here. This next bit is going to be fairly quick. It's getting hotter by the second. It's just a page layout. We've done page layouts before. We did a whole session on laying out pages. And those page layouts would apply equally to a magazine as they would to anything else. So the one I've got is an old blog post, which is a review of Demo Pro, which is a fantastic app. It's the one that draws on the screen. So I did this, I think, as a 2-page layout, one page going on to another, for a reason that will become apparent. So I'm going to imagine at this point that I am just creating this article potentially for somebody else. So I need somewhere to put the text to start with. So I'm going to add a text frame. You'll notice with this, I'm not particularly concerned about the masters. If you would like to speculate as to why I'm not concerned about the masters, feel free. I'd love to read it. But I've added a text frame. I'm going to put 3 columns in it. And I'm going to have enough of a gap at the top so I can put a title on this thing. And I've got a couple of images to go with it as well. So I will bother to put the filler text in, literally so you can see it. Because if I click away, you won't see the text frame. So there's the text frame that I'll be working with, and I've got some images as well. It's very tempting, I've done it myself, to drag and drop the images in from the Finder or wherever they're coming from. But should you do that? Well, make your life a whole lot easier if you don't. Because if you drag and drop an image, it's not in an image frame. It's not in a picture frame. So it's actually better to draw the picture frames on first. So I want a picture frame that is somewhere down here. I can always sort this out later, but at the moment I just want to drag it in there. And I probably want another one. I think it actually went onto another page, but for demonstration purposes I will put it there. Right, first thing, they need text wrap. So by doing that you instantly realise that you need text wrap. So let's put some text wrap on the 2 of them, and OK. You could of course take it that little extra step, which is to put filler text colour in it so you know where it is. And the other thing that I did was I put up here Demo Pro. So Demo Pro. Now that is artistic text, so I want it to fill the space there. That will then show me how far a gap I need to the text. So about there. And another image that I wanted to put on there was, in fact, while I'm at it, I'm actually going to put some guides on this. The guides are great because they'll give me somewhere that I can snap to. So don't want 13 of them, mind. 6 will do. Right. So here I want another one of these that goes across there. I want it a little bit higher and that wide, but it needs to be square, so that'll do. And put a text wrap on that. Right, then I've got my images to drag and drop into it. So this is the icon for Demo Pro, so I'll put that one there. Oh, it's melting. There we go. I've got another. The other 2 are going to depend on where the text is. So let me get this open. This means opening a text editor. Oh dear, it's opening text edit. Good grief, that's worse than I thought. Right, let's copy that. and I'm going to put in here the actual text of the article. So hopefully get in there and paste that. Now, straight away, we've got a lot of problems with that, which is the kind of thing that you could end up with yours. So I'm not sure with this, I don't want to move that. I want to make sure that that is snapping correctly, and it is there, but not quite there. Okay, so what are the problems I've got with this text? I've got extra carriage returns in it. I've got hashtags representing the fact it's a heading 2. I've got all kinds of mess in there. So I need to tidy it up first. And that only came from a text file. So if you're bringing this in from Word or something else, you could have a bigger mess than I've got. Right, we've done a little bit of this before in other sessions, but I'm going to use the find and replace. And the first thing I'm going to do is say, right, when there's 2 carriage returns here, there should only be 1. So in the find dialog, obviously I can put things like text. So if I put the word discovery and press enter, I know that it is in there once and it shows it at the bottom. So that's the basics of the find and replace dialog. Seriously, the absolute basics. It can do a lot more than that. We have looked at the cog before, where you can search for a specific format. You can search for styles, you can match case and things, you can even use regex. But that's not what we want, because if we look in that cog, it's all very well with everything that it does give us, but what's missing? Special characters are missing. So, for instance, if I had a tab character in there, and a tab character in there, but I could have this all the way through the thing, and you know, I want to find them and get rid of them. There is another option which is underneath the magnifying glass, which is special characters. And that one happens to be a tab. But if you go to special characters at the top, has that actually put a tab in? I think it has. But I'm not confident, so let's take it out and make absolutely certain. Don't want another calamity. Right, there's the tab. So I want it to search for a tab and replace it with nothing. So first of all, I do a find. Now it says it can't find it. Oh, for crying out loud, have you ever had one of those days? There's definitely a tab in there. I know there is. I can see it. Have we got anything before it? Anything after it? Oh, you're playing with my mind. And I'm not even seeing a reset there. Let's try that. Right. Let's go in there and choose that character of a tab. And let's try again. It's not finding it. Which means if it can't find it, it can't replace it. Oh! I'm going to just undo this. Oh. Right. Let's search for something else. Let's do the one that I really need to do, which is, I'm looking for 2 special characters. I'm looking for 2 paragraph markers like that. And I want to replace them with 1 paragraph marker. So where there's 2, replace it with 1. So I'll do a find. Thankfully, they're all there. Right. And I want to replace them all. So you watch what happens over here when I hit replace all. And that gets rid of that. Now, obviously, I could do all of that by hand. But it's far faster because if this is 20 pages, it's much faster. Right. I am then going to reset this. Now, I know that's resetting the format, but I don't trust it. Right, what I need to search for next is 2 hash symbols and a space. And I need to replace those with nothing. I don't want to replace them with a carriage return. I want to replace them with nothing. So we're looking at the problem, a fortuitous discovery, taking a break. So I would want to replace those. Now, would I do that at this stage? No. For a reason that will become apparent. They need to be headings. So what I'm going to do with my text is select all of it and go into my text in here, my styles, and you can see that it's got no style. So if I start fiddling around with the styles, I'm going to have to do this manually. But if I just apply a body style to that, and I'm not really concerned with what it looks like. I know Renee wants me to talk about that, which I will, but I'm not really concerned at all with what it looks like at the moment. It's the principle of what we're doing. But yes, I wouldn't have it looking like that either, certainly not in 3 columns. But having applied the body to it, what I can now do is select these bits, which should be headings. And I'm actually here going through this and I'm holding the command key down, which is the control key on PC, which means I can select multiple ones, which means I can apply heading 2s to them like that. I do believe there is more of this, so I'm going to add in another text block so I can get hold of the rest of it. And it looks like that's the end of it. So take a break's done, but that one there would need to be a heading as well. So I've done the body stuff and now I'm doing the heading 2 stuff. You are going to apply that. And you can see I've even got some notes in here that that's where the image should go. Now it's all formatted. Now would be a good time to then go through and get rid of those. So if I do a find, there's 4 of them and I'm going to replace them all. And that means my headings are all sorted out and that just leaves the images. So where do we want the images? So this one says, I like the option to configure Demo Pro. So the image for that, and these aren't perfect either because they've come from my blog and they are a bit small for a print magazine, but we'll put them in there anyway. And the other one was this 5-minute thing up there. So they're my images. Now that one is too big to fit it, so I need to shrink that down a bit so we can see the whole thing. And this one really needs to be somewhere else because this one needs to go before that. So I think this one would be, no, not the text, not the text. Grab me the image. This one would be down here somewhere because this one, I want to go where that text is there. So I will take that text and delete it and move this so it's bigger. So let's put that and make it bigger. The overflow will just flow onto the page below. So let's put that down there and maybe scoot it down a bit. We don't want the text too small, do we? And I'm also watching what's going on down here. Right, that image needs to be where the text of image is. So put that down there, get image on the next block. Alright, get rid of that. And we have a bit of a layout. Right, did anybody get why I wasn't in the slightest bit concerned about masters and page numbers? Did anybody mention that? I don't think you did. But the reason that I'm not bothered about it is I could be writing this and then sending it off to somebody. And I want to have in it literally just the formatting it needs and nothing else. Because they will be applying a baseline grid and styles and page numbers and possibly even layouts, but maybe I've been given that as a layout to work with, but I want to keep it as neutral as possible. So we have a layout. Now, next thing to think about is taking that layout. So I'm going to save this lest there's a calamity. We're going to need it later. So let's just do a layout. Right, it's saved. So, and obviously there are problems with this. I wouldn't have this orphaned at the bottom either, but this is principle, nothing else, principle. So once you've got that, that wasn't a master page. This 6 columns and the rest of it wasn't a master page. So just like we did last week in advanced photo books, Michael put the link in, you could reverse engineer this back to being a master. And it's not that difficult. So we have a master A. I think I would probably make another one. This one could be a story. And having done all this work, you don't want to do it again. So if you always write a story about something tech and you put the icon there, then that is something that you could take back to the master. And maybe you always have that there and you always make it fit and you've got the styles applied. You probably wouldn't need these particular images, but you could leave image placeholders. So I'm going to take everything that's on there and copy it and go up to my story. And it's having a rare old think about it. I would probably start this on this page, but just in case you could have it on either. So let me just get that over there and show you how you reverse engineer that. So literally up here, change the text of that to headline. And if you want to change the size so it fits, you can, but you are probably going to have to change that depending on the text anyway. This here needs to be an icon, and you need to know that you need something in there. So in the layers, I don't need that icon, so I'm going to open up the picture frame and delete it. And that puts it back with the yellow fill that I gave it before, which is just a really good way of making sure that you know that you're missing an image. And same with that there. Obviously this has got text in it, which is your text, and you're not going to want that either. So let's get in there and get all the text and delete that. You don't need to put any filler text in here if you don't want, but if you want to be able to see what this looks like as a preview on your thumbnail, then you could do, because you can just delete it when you get it where you need it anyway. So insert filler text, and there we go. It gives you a better preview up there. And that is how you reverse engineer it. And then you could apply this to another story down here. So we want that on this bit here. Away you go. Excellent. And there you go. So that's reverse engineering it and creating a story. So 2 demos there. Creating the story and reverse engineering it. Right, let me get on to the next one, which is a discussion of whether you should add sections or not. Oh, this is going to be good, isn't it? Should you add sections or not to a magazine? Is it important, and if so, why? Now, if you don't know about sections we've used before. We've used it in longer materials. So I'm having a look in here, seeing what I've got that could use sections. I have got a file that I could use sections with. It's whether we would be doing that or not. Let me have a think. Let's use that file. Let's use that one. So this is a magazine that's got a lot more content in it. We are going to use it when we look at Magic Table of Contents in a few minutes. All right, there we go. It has, so first of all, let's fold up the masters, not interested in the masters. We have a cover. Oh, look, the long-awaited return of MacBites. Saying nothing more than that. Right, but then underneath it, we have a yellow page. If you remember from the flat plan, a yellow page was advertising. Then I've got the editorial. It is thinking about loading this at some point. There we go. I've then got a page for the table of contents. I've got a letters page. I've got 9 essential utilities for Mac. I've got a mood board. I've got the Q&As at the end of it, and I've got another advert and the back cover. So, is it worth, in a file like this, to create a section for How Do I, and a section for letters, and a section for other stuff? Oh, Peter's getting giddy. Peter's getting very, very giddy. So sections we're talking about, these are actually separate sections of this. In what circumstances is it useful to create separate sections? Do you want to have a stab at that one, Mike?
No.
No, he's not. He's not an Affinity bod. Right, there's lots of different reasons you might want to use sections. Right, first of all, if you want to have different page numbers on an index or a table of contents, then they need to be in a separate section. So if we actually look at what the section manager does, so in our document menu, we have section manager. It enables you to have one document, in this case 14 pages, but that you separate into different sections and then say, change where page 1 is, change the style of the numbering, and that's one of the things that people use sections for. But in a magazine, what would you use sections for? Well, there's no harm in creating separate sections for the letters and the utilities and the how do I at the end. None at all. But is it superfluous if the numbers just carry on? Well, yes, to some degree. Apart from, what if you wanted a running footer that told you what section you were in? In that case, that would be quite handy. So we'll lose the section manager. And we will go to the master page, because we've only got one master page on here. Again, this is principle only. I'm not concerned about the fact it'll probably appear on the home page, the cover page. We're not bothered. We're going to put some footers on here. So grab this. We are probably going to want page numbers and a running footer to tell you where you actually are. So let's put page. We definitely don't like that text, do we? And text, insert, fields, page number. Right. And I definitely don't like that. But you know, we can see it, so that's got a benefit. Just ignore how hideous it is. Right, next thing to think about. If I tab to there, but this is actually going to be easier if I just split it, isn't it? I'm doing this purely for speed. Don't shout at me. Purely for speed. I could fiddle around, but I haven't got time. So I'm going to put another block here, and this one is going to be our section. So let me zoom in, because it's also struggling manfully. Right, there, like that. I don't want that to be the page number. This is going to be the section. So I actually don't want it to say section. I just want to see the word section. So let's insert, back down to insert and fields. And what do we want here? And section name is an option. So just put section name in. And right align it. And do we have a style that's less offensive than that one? I don't think we've got a footer style, but I'm going to leave it that big so we can see it. Right, over on the other side, we want exactly the same, but the other way round. So we do want that. So I'm going to copy that. Oh dear, that's not what I want. Crying out loud. Right, copy and put that here. So we'll align it with there, waiting for the green. Perfect. Make that left aligned and take the page number. Go on. Go on. Excellent. Right, and move that over here. And right align that. I did click that button. You ignored me. You totally ignored me. Come on. Am I hitting the wrong button here? I don't think I am. What's going on? Did I put a tab in or something? Did I? That's better. Right, so it's all lined up. Remembering that's on the master. Right, did this ripple through? No, it didn't. Why not? I don't think the master is applied to this lot. It is clearly applied to some of them and not others. Right, why would that not be applied to the others? Why would it be applied to these and these, although it's behind there, but not that one? And that's because that master is not applied to that, and that was because of where it came from. So I'm going to apply that to there, if it's going to let me. You know you want to. There it comes through. And I think it's applied to most of the others, but obviously you won't see it on that one. All right. You will notice that despite the fact we had a section header there and a section name there, so we had it on twice, it's not showing. And that's because there's no sections. So this one is page 8, but that's not really page 8, is it? If we have a look at it. We haven't separated the cover, so we'll try this utilities one first. Right, so in here, in our sections, we want to add a section. And it's picked page 8, starting on page 8, but it finishes on page 9. So at the moment, this is going to ripple through to 14. So once you start doing this section naming thing to get the running footer, you can't stop. You've got to make sure that you've got sections applied to all of the other things as well. So in here, I'm going to give this a name of utilities. Nice capital U would be good, wouldn't it? You see it instantly comes in at the bottom. The issue with it is, as I apply that it comes through to here as well, and we wouldn't want that. But to be honest, we'd have a different master on there. But how do I here and this one, you'd need to go back into the section manager and complete the job. So into document, into section manager, and just go through the entire thing. So 10 to 11, at the moment this is going on 14, but it's not 14 that I'm looking for. I am looking for 10 to 11. So let's take it down to 10. And 10 is the mood board, the WWDC mood board. But then I'd need another one on 12 and 13, because if I don't, then that comes through as mood board. So another one. This is 12 to 13, and this one is the Q&A, or the how do I. And OK on that. And that is when you might need your sections. What else do you use sections for? When you are forced to put a section in to do something specific. Give you a heads up. It makes magic with tables of contents. So we're coming on to that shortly. Is it next? No, it's not. It's not next. So what I'm going to do with this one, because I'm coming back to this, I'm going to do a save as and tag a number on the end, because I need it in its naked state, not in its tinkered with state. So that's OTN1 and stick that in. Right, next one. I will show you doing this into this file actually, because I can. What have I got that I'm actually inserting? Already done that one, but I'll show you how that one got in there. So we'll put it in twice. When I was building this file, this mood board was half created last week, but it didn't have those images in it. But it was half created. So I finished the creation, but not in this file. So if we wanted to put a mood board and we wanted it at the end here, you have two options when it comes to working with external files. You can go to File and you can go to Place, and that works great for images. It also works for PDFs. But Affinity Publisher supports designer files, Photoshop files, InDesign files, as long as they're IDMLs, and a whole range of raster file formats. And you can do that where you can say, in place a file, an Affinity Designer file. But is that the best way to do it? No. There is a dedicated way to work if what you're doing is working with specific publisher files which have content in them. So if you go up to Document instead, you have Add Pages from File. So what I'll do first is show you on an empty page what would happen if you went to File and Place. So I need to find the correct file, which is going to be in mood boards. Yes, the machine is in a mood, isn't it? Right, these are external files. Oh, is that my mood board? No, I think my mood board's in my mood board, isn't it? Let's have a look where it is. Mood board, so I think it is in that one. Right, there we go, a layout for mood board from WWDC. So if I say open that, it's saying it contains a large amount of data, but I'm saying no, I don't want to link to them. So no, I want them embedded. It's loaded in that file into my cursor, which is why there is a down-facing arrow on it. And you can just click to add it, like that. Well, that's all well and good. Where's the rest of it? It's put one page in it, which is sort of the cover page, but where's the rest of it? And I can't just flip to it. It hasn't added the pages down here. It's just got the front cover. Not a calamity if you want one page, I guess, because the context menu along the top, you can choose what spread is used. So it lists everything that's in there. Master A, page 1, 2 and 3, 4 and 5, 6 and 7 and 8. And I actually want 2 and 3. So I could just do that and it would load in 2 and 3. Obviously I've got it sat on a single page. So what I would actually need to do is put in a double spread to put that on. But if I insert one page after page, oh, I'll tell you what, let's put 2 in after page 13. And that'll give us a blank page to put that onto. So there's the 2 pages. I put it on this page here, but I've since said I want a spread, 2-page spread. So if I take that from there and I put it on here. Oh, beach ball, beach ball. Well, it has a think about it. Mike, could you put me some water in that, please? Oh, dear. Is there any questions while it's thinking about it? Oh, why do I do demos in this heat? You know, if you're watching this and it's December and it's cold, I envy you so much. So much. I think we could actually have put a nail in its coffin at this stage. It's really struggling, poor thing. To close it down and start again. Oh no, hang on. It's potentially sprung into life. No, it's lying to me. I will give it another few seconds. If you've got any questions, put them in the chat. Now would be a really good time to put them in the chat. Is this about justifying the text? We've discussed that. If I was doing that and I was doing it properly, I would apply the justification to a style. If I'm doing that and I've got 3 columns, I'm going to have to start thinking about hyphenation. Do you know I nearly said hibernation then? Hyphenation. Because you wouldn't want it to look ridiculous. And it can do. 2 columns is better. Right, that's not working. I've killed it. Have I killed the whole thing or just that? It looks like I've killed the whole thing. Oh no, hang on. Just as I say it's dead, it springs back to life. No, hang on, it's switched. So maybe I've killed a file. It doesn't seem to want to go back to the top one. That one is the layout one. Do you know what? I think I'll kill it. If it'll be killed. It's been modified. No, don't bother saving it. It's a nightmare. Leave it be. Right, all I need to demonstrate this is these 2 pages. All right, I just need 2 pages. So I will do that again to show you that while you can do it this way, there is a better way and what that better way is. So, where is the mood board? There's the mood board. So remember, this is the placement method. It's going to load it in and I'm going to click it and it's going to put in the first page because it doesn't know what else to do. So I'll get that situated there. Is that about right? I think that's about right. But I can choose what I have. This was what we were doing. So I just wanted pages 2 and 3. I would then need to place that in the file into the receiving file. And I'm good to go. Now you might be thinking at that stage, you'll notice it's not filling out to the bleed. That's because the page box is set to the trim box and not the bleed box. If I make it to the bleed box, it will go into the bleed. So I've got 2 pages from another Affinity Publisher file entirely in this file. But there was a bit of a faff doing it because I had to choose which page I wanted from it. So the other way of doing it, let's get another empty page, is to go to Document and Add Pages from File. This gives you a little bit more control. So we'll go to that one. We'll choose exactly the same file, which is this mood board file, which is that one, and open that. And this time you get a dialog box. This is particularly useful if the longer the file is, the more useful this is, because the other one only had 8 pages and I knew I wanted pages 2 and 3. But this allows you to choose all the pages, a specific set of pages, a section. So that's another use for sections. Even if you don't want to use them for page numbers, you don't want to use them for names, if you have a file that has certain things that you want to insert into other files, you could do it by section if you'd created sections. I want 2 pages. I happen to know they are 2 to page 3. And I want to add them after, and let's say after page 6. So the benefit of this is we're going to end up with 2 blank pages on 6 and 7, and hopefully 8 and 9 will have our pages on them. Now at the moment I'm in there. If I tab to the next thing, it will load in the first page. So that's the left-hand page of my double page spread. And after page 6. Obviously, instead of after, you can have it before, or you can even replace pages. So if you've got placeholders where you know you need the month's mood board, you could replace 2 pages that have got like text over the top that says mood board. In this case, I want to put them after. You can have pages or sections, and I'm saying after page 6. So after page and 6, those 3 work together. And I'm going to discard any unused text styles because I don't want the text styles magically multiplying like we know that they do. So hit OK on that. Again, it'll have a rare old think about it. With a bit of luck, it'll work. In it comes. It's not placed right. But, oh, actually, it's put it on 7 and 8, which is bizarre, isn't it? Did I tell it to do that? Because I wanted it over there. Let me have a look. It actually brought the whole thing in separately, so you've got two distinct things going on here. This has brought this in, and it's all completely editable. This one came in, and this was actually correct. Although in here you can see it says layout blah blah blah. Let me widen that. And it says embedded document. So the two methods are completely different, and you may choose one over the other for a specific reason. So in here I can move this around, and it's easy because I can just grab anything and move it. It's an embedded document. This one has come in incorrectly across the pages, and if I grab something, it's actually editable. It's going to move it. So there are two completely different ways to do it. And depending on what you particularly want, one way may be much better than another. This way, where it's actually embedded it, if I did want to change something on here, I can just double click it and give it a suitable time. It will open up the embedded file. It will indicate it's embedded. And now I can make the changes that I want to make in it. So it is editable. It's not turned it into a bitmap. It's editable. It's just that it's embedded and you need to drill down. To be honest, if I'm embedding a page, the odds are I don't really want to edit it. So I don't really want to end up with this situation. But there are occasions when that will be the way to go. Right, so that was putting in that. Let me get some extra pages in here and I'll show you two other things, and then we will go to the magic table of contents, because that really is magic. Right, so I'm going to go in here. I do not want another master. I want some of these. I will put in a fair number of pages. Let's put 12 in after 9. Right. Has my chat stopped? The last thing I've got is Peter. I'm wondering if we've stopped broadcasting and don't know it. If you're still alive, let us know. Or I could be talking to myself. Right, so I've got some empty pages here. We've imported an Affinity Publisher file. What I'm now looking at bringing in is a tutorial. It's exactly the same principle, to be honest. Oh, hang on. No, I had that in a different file. I had that in a different file, so I won't insert that at the moment. That's the tutorial file. It's on its own at the moment, but if that's what I wanted to insert into here, so let's go back into our layout, I have those two methods to choose from. Simple as that. So the second one is more powerful, but can be a bit of a pain. Oh, Peter says he's just transfixed. Excellent. Right, what was the question? Oh, hang on, microphone, or they won't hear a word you're saying. Away you go.
If you place the publisher file into your file, can you get rid of the other pages to decrease the file size? If so, would this work if you link the file?
Oh, wow. If you get rid of the other pages, they will only be deleted from the embedded version of that file. But at that point, the file you've embedded won't be exactly the same as the original, so you'll have to be careful that you don't mix up the embedded one with the original. What was the other bit of the question? Can you get rid of the others?
Would this work if you link the file?
You would, if you delete the pages of a linked file, then they're gone. So possibly better to embed it and then at the end delete what you don't want. Just be careful with it. Be very careful with that. Even if you've got them embedded, at the point that you come to the end, what you could do is use the package capability and get all of the assets together and actually externalize them. So you can take these things out and make them linked and then bring them back in and embedded at will. You'll just have to be careful that the original file, you don't get confused between that and the one you've embedded and taken the pages out of. What I do to make sure that doesn't happen, because that happens a lot for me, because I'm demonstrating. So what I do is when I've got the file that is the original file that I want part of it embedded in another file, I make a zip copy of it. And that way, if I get confused, I've got a zipped copy and I know that when I unzip the file, I'm back to where I started. So I use that extensively for demos, but that is what I would do with it. But it's not fatal when you've made a decision to embed or link. You can always switch backwards and forwards between the two. So what was I putting in here? It was the tutorial, wasn't it? So let me go get the tutorial. Stop jiggling around. This is me being organised, putting all of my data in files, in folders, and then not being able to get to them because it's in a mood. Luckily I have it on the favourites as well, and it's this tutorial we want to embed into here. Right, so I do want all the... no, I don't want all the pages on this one, do I? No, I want 2 and 3. Is it 2 and 3? Do you know, I can't remember. Let's bring the lot in. After pages 6, that'll do. That will do. And OK to that. I must specify a valid range. Well, all of them. 1 to 4. Yeah, wasn't 1 to 4 valid? Apparently it was. Now this time we've got a whole different thing happening. This we didn't see on the last one. This was because there was no textiles in it. So what's happening here is it's saying on the left hand side, so this little lot here, don't know why that's yellow tonight, this little lot are the styles that are in the source file. What do you want to do with them? Now the tick means bring them in. I don't really, or I wouldn't if it was a real file, want the base style coming in. Nor would I particularly want the body style coming in for the table. But these I would want coming in because they're all to do with a step-by-step tutorial. Which, spoiler alert, is next week's session. So I do want those coming in. You can in here rename them on the way in. And it explains whether anything is conflicting with something else. And you can say to check them or to check the paragraphs, etc. So what do you want? In fact, that's the check, isn't it? I need... No, I don't want to do that. They're all fine. Right, so I'm going to OK that, and with a bit of luck in it'll come. So that was the actual tutorial layout over there. And this one, that was my sample. This one with the 2 pages was the one that I actually genuinely wanted to bring in. The other one is a sample layout to work with. So that is how you bring those in. The only other kind of file that I'm going to show you bringing in, we will go down to 10 and 11, is if you've got an advert to bring in, you may have that as a PDF or any other kind of format, to be honest. I have a tall advert to bring in. What format were you? I vaguely remember this. Let's have a look. I think it was a PDF, or it could have been an image. Let's have a look. No, it's an Affinity Designer document. So this, oh, I know why it was an Affinity Designer document. Right, what it is, I won't open it in Affinity Designer. We'll be here until next weekend. But I've got this, which is a home office, not the home office if you're in the UK, just a home office, which is advertising, and I'm going to put it at the back. It's a tall thing I'm going to have on the left of the page, and it is an Affinity Designer document. I could export that as a PDF and generally fiddle around with it, but why would I do that? With this one, I'm going to file and place, and I'm going to choose that as the file that I want to place. So it is in folder number 8 there. No, that is not number 8, is it? No, it's number 9. I can't read. I've lost the will to live with this machine, that's the issue. Right. So there it is, Affinity. Right, I'm doing it this way for a particular reason. So, no, I still don't want you to fiddle. I want you to pop that in there. And there is the ad that's going to go over there. Now, by doing it this way, I actually have an editable, not a PDF or anything like that. I have an editable file. So this particular image I didn't think was grand to represent a home office. There's nothing in it. Where's the kit? But, you know, speed must, and that was the best one I could find in a hurry. But if I wanted to change that by putting a picture of my desk in it, then by making it an embedded file, all I need to do is to double click it. It will switch me over in here to the embedded file. And in here, you can see I can open this up and change that image there if I want to. So actually, that image you could say, do you know what, that's a much better look for it. And I've changed it inside there. When I come to close that, it will then update it, she said, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Where did it go? Oh, come on. Oh, tell me you're that layout. There we go. So you can update it. Now, most of the time, if it's an advert, you won't be changing it because the copy will be set. But if you are, and you're like, that image needs changing, then embedding it as an editable file is the way to go. Right, in the home straight. One more thing to see, and then the bonus. So first of all, a magic table of contents. I had the most amazing thing to show you when we tried it just before we went live, didn't we? And it didn't work. That was nothing to do with Affinity. It was the network. So when you're putting together a table of contents for a magazine, we have a whole session on table of contents. Michael put the link in. But that was for a book. So I am going here to, what was that? Let's do a save as just in case. A table of contents, when we went through it, the short version of a table of contents is, it's the contents of your file sequentially ordered. By comparison, an index is the contents of your file that you have tagged, displayed alphabetically. Okay. So, what does that mean for a magazine? And this is where it got a bit tricky. For a magazine, you probably don't want a table of contents that looks like a book. So I'm going to open up that MacBytes file again, but this time we're back to where we started. So this is the original one that I was going to use to show you a table of contents. So let's have a look what we've got in here. Right, we've got the cover, we've got a place for advertising, we have an editorial bit, then the table of contents, which is spread across 2 pages. Then we have a letters section, then we have a tutorial about these essential utilities for Mac. We have a mood board, and we have the Q&A at the end. So we've got lots of content. What would it look like if we put a table of contents in for that? Well, it's going to depend, first of all. It's going to depend on how things are styled. So first of all, this is the page we're going to use for the table of contents. We have the word contents at the top. For a table of contents to work, you need styles, and that is styled as a H1. So that's a start. Our letters here is styled as a H1, and obviously this is just placeholder text, but we have 15 letters, and within there, these are styled as heading 2s. So far, so good. Right, in the essential utilities, each utility is styled as a step title. And that makes sense because this is a tutorial. We're looking at how this works next week. Just accept it at the moment. It's styled, but it's not a heading. Right, this one is our mood board, and that wouldn't look great if we had text running through it saying this is this and this is that, would it? Then finally, we've got the how do I. And in the how do I, that has no style at all. Oh no, it's got a heading 2. I lie, it's got a heading 2. And this has got a heading 1. Right, those headings are critical to making a table of contents. But why is a magazine any different to anything else? And it's because of the layout of the magazine. If you were to look at a table of contents for a magazine, it doesn't look like a book. Who would read it if it did? So let's see what happens if we go in here and we insert a table of contents. So into our text and down to table of contents and insert table of contents. Not bad, no t-shirt. Let's have a look what's happening. Right, it's pointing to the letters page and it says letters, and that says page 6. But then all of these individual letters are at the same level as the letters, and they're all on page 6. Then it goes straight into the 9 utilities, but the 9 utilities aren't listed. Then it goes into the how do I, and for bizarre reasons unknown to itself, it's indented those, which does look better, but it just doesn't look like a table of contents does in a magazine. What difference is there with a table of contents in a magazine? Anybody want to put that in the chat if you are with me live? Where did my phone go? There we go. I could try and see if this would work again, but it didn't work the other 27 times we tried it, but you know, it's probably worth it. If I do this, what will you do? Right. No, it's not playing ball at all. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a picture of a magazine that I've got on my desk right now, and I will put the link somewhere. That's what we'll do. So let's come out of there and take a photo of it. You let me know in the chat in what way that is different. So I've got that one there. It's pretty dark in here. I haven't got the lights on. Right, I will send these photos to myself, you know, as you do, and show you them on the desktop. That's probably the best way to do it, isn't it? So let's grab those, select those and send them to myself. Fingers crossed this works. Nothing else has tonight, but there you go. Right, actually we've not done bad considering, have we? Considering I'm sat in a puddle. Right, did they come through or do I need to do that again? Because you're just being awkward. Let's have a look. Can't believe you're not more chatty in the chat. I think I've sent you all to sleep. Oh, there you go. Airdrop cancelled. It wasn't. Just keep sending it. There you go. No, it wasn't. You're lying. You're lying. It's waiting. Wait, now airdrop isn't working, Mike. Oh, hang on. It's having to think about it. It's moving incredibly slowly, but it's getting there. Right. So I'll be able to show you this magazine. But usually, tables of contents are highly designed. They're usually promoting things that are in the magazine. You've usually got quite big graphics with a page number on the bottom. Peter's definitely not asleep. Excellent, that's good to hear. Right, does it say sent? Does it actually do? He's done it! Good grief. Right. Oh, poor Renee's hot as well. Come on, come on, come on. Oh, when it can't show one image, it's time to go home, isn't it? Right, here we go. Here we go. I'm going to bring it in. That's just about, isn't it? Let's get that in the centre. Right, so it's a magazine called I Create, and you can see it's got tutorials there, and the tutorials are broken up into different sections. So it says creative tutorials, Mac OS tutorials, iOS tutorials, iPad tutorials. Fabulous. When you look at the page numbers, oh, that's handy, isn't it? All the creative tutorials are before the Mac tutorials, and all of those are before the iOS tutorials. So, technically speaking, a standard table of contents would work. They're sequential. Here's the issue when you look at the other side of the table of contents. Bearing in mind it's a table of contents for a magazine. And yes, this is the time it's taking to load one file that's 1.8 meg. And the fan is on the thing. You can probably hear the fan. Right. If you look at the I Create regulars, 8, 10, 12, 84 and 98, not sequential. I mean, they are, but they're skipping things that we know are between page 12 and 84. So a standard table of contents won't work, will it? We've generated one of those. One, it looks appalling. And two, it can't handle that kind of situation. So we need to get clever to be able to handle that. Oh, Renee's subscribed to that. You've probably got the issue then. Right, but that's the issue as you're looking at it. You've got the reviews at the bottom, they at least are together. But what if the reviews were spread throughout the magazine? A sequential table of contents, point 1, would not work. Point 2, even if you decided I'm going to be clever and I'm going to deploy sections, the sections are sequential chunks of your magazine as well. So how do you persuade it to allow you to create multiple tables of contents with just the bits you want in it? That's what we need to do. That's where the magic is. So that, not great. Not great at all. Can we do anything with it? So point 1 with that, we could get the utilities in it. So you would click inside the table of contents. So you have activated it. You would look over here and you would say, well, I know that they were the step title. So if I added the step title in, boom, all my apps come in. But yes, they do, but they come in sequentially. So it looks like a table of contents for a book, and that's not what we want. So because of that, I'm going to start from scratch and do it again. So let's get rid of the table of contents. So I think that's gone. It's just really slow. Right, so I've got here a table, a page for the table of contents. I've got plenty of space at the top to put some stuff like special offers and subscription pages, and I have placeholders for images across here. So if first of all what I wanted was the letters, then I can go in there and put an image to represent it. The tutorials, let's put the tutorials in the middle, and let's put the questions at the end. Right, like that. Now, I am probably going to need to change this, which is there we go. This is the frame of text that the table of contents ran through. It would make sense here to have separate ones for each table of contents. So obviously I don't need 3 columns in it. I want to keep these separate. So there is my first one. And this should be the quickest way to do it. Grab this across here and duplicate it. Hopefully it's still, no, yes, it is still there, thankfully. And that one there. So I now have 3 discrete text boxes, text placeholders to put the table of contents in. But I want to be able to do it in such a way that when I insert a table of contents, it only inserts what I want it to insert. Right. So the first thing is, what is this? Right, well this is going to be, did I have a finished one? This was the letters. So I'm actually going to type in here, letters. I did put an S on that, you just ignored me. Probably get 2 S's now. So I can make it nice and bright. I can have that any colour and style that I want because it's not coming from the table of contents. It's just me typing stuff. So I would do the same in here, this one being the tutorials. And of course you've seen from the other magazine that you can have as many tutorials as you like. And just because we can, and yes, I would put styles on these, but I haven't got the time, I would make these different colours. And this one is the how do I at the end. So let's make that, oh, what colour have we got left that we can bear looking at? Oh, I did select you all, but you're not having it. Yellow's probably not bright enough, is it? So let's go get something from the Apple palette. Green might not be dark enough. How about that one? Oh no, we've got that one, haven't we? Should we put the red one? There we go. So I've got 3 nice headings, and I need 3 separate tables of contents. The letters one, we can do that. I've already sorted this out in the background so it will work. So what I need to do is just do exactly the same thing again. Text, table of contents, insert table of contents. Obviously, it's not going to work 100% at the moment, but we do have the letters in it. Look at that. But we've got too much. So you can see down here, we've got too much. If I show you, if we flow this into here, just because we can, you'll see what's left, and we don't want that. So how do we get rid of it? Right. I'm going to unhook those things. So this is what we've got. We don't want the word letters at the top because we've got that manually, so we can nicely format it. And we don't want all of this at the bottom. How do we exclude it? Well, in the styles, look at the styles. If we take the heading 1 away, it takes away the letters at the top. So the first thing we then see is letter 1. But these down here we don't want to see either. These how do I da-da-da. So if we take the heading 2 away as well, we are left with just the letters. How did that happen? Because we have a style that is dedicated to being the letters, a heading 2 letters style. Right, will that work for the tutorials then? So let's get to the tutorials. And you really do just the same thing. So in here, you would go to text and down to table of contents and insert a table of contents. And it will do exactly the same and all of the letters will be there, the lot. Because it's remembering what styles you used last time. But I don't want the letters to appear in the tutorials. Well, that's simple. Just take them out of the style and the letters disappear. But it does leave me with letters. That's because that's the heading 1. So take the heading 1 away while we're at it. And that leaves you with these. But they're not my tutorials. My tutorials were... were these utilities? Were these utilities? Yes, I had one tutorial in utilities. Let me just change that to utilities. What we actually want to see is the name of the utilities. And we're not seeing that. Now, let's go and have a look at it. So, where's the utilities? Right. We want this text to appear. Alfred and bartender and drop zone. What format is it? So, looking in the list, we look down the list, it's a step title. Okay. So if we go back to the table of contents up here and we look at our styles, what if we took the 2 out, which leaves us with absolutely nothing? And it says there's no entries. That's because we've not got any style selected. But if we choose the step title, in comes the utilities and nothing else. Fabulous. Right, how do we do the how do I? Okay. So, same process, text, table of contents, insert table of contents. Right. Will it work? No. No. What it will do is it will use the default, which it thinks are these 3, heading 1, heading 2, and the letters. Yeah, but that's not what we want. No, it's not. How do we fix it? Not at this end. Not at this end. We can take the letters away, and we can take the heading 1 away. But that still leaves us with everything that's tagged as a heading 2. As it happens, that's actually correct, because that's all that's left. But it won't work if there's something else in there that shouldn't be in there that's a heading 2. So just to show you why that wouldn't work, I'm going to go down to this page and just put something, you know, test entry. Test entry. And the fact that it's a heading 2, so it's an errant heading 2 there, let's make that the colour we can see. But we actually want it to be a heading 2, so we'll style it as a heading 2. And what happens when we come back up here is it should pick it up because it's a heading 2. Do you really need me to refresh you? You probably do, don't you? You would. Because you're running hot. Trust me, that should be appearing. Right. Table of contents. Can we update it from here? There you go. Test entry at the top. So anywhere in this magazine that we have a heading 2, it's going to appear in the how do I. The other problem that we've got with it is that even if we had the right stuff selected for how do I, it's not lined up right. It's indented. That's because it thinks it's a heading 2. Right. We need to sort this out. So we can leave this errant entry in here, but it won't be picked up in here, and it's really simple. What you need to do is leave the table of contents alone and go down to the content. These are what is formatted as heading 2. So what I need to do, if you look at this one, we have a heading 2 letters. So I just need to create a paragraph style. It will prompt me for a title in the end. You will, won't you? Come on, there we go. I don't want it to be a heading 3, I want it to be a heading 2. But it's a heading 2 for how do I. I'm basing it on heading 2, so if there's any change to how it looks, this will automatically update. But the difference is, while it looks identical to a heading 2, it's what I call hookable. You can hook into the fact it's actually a different style in the table of contents. So just leave that as heading 2, how do I. That is now applied to that one. I need to select all the others and apply them. And yes, you can, actually I made that based on something else, but never mind. I don't think it'll matter. We'll find out. So format the others. There were 4 of them. with heading 2. Do you know what? I'm actually going to make sure that I did that right. I must have based that on... What did I base it on? I'm not risking anything here. I'm going to look at this letters one and see what I base that on and make sure I base this on the same one. I based it on the base style. There you go. So I will make sure that this one is also based on the base style, lest we have any naughtiness happening. Right. Okay, now it needs to be formatted. So, how do I edit that? Whatever it was. I've no idea what it looked like now. Oh... Let's make it... let's make it that because we can. And let's make it a smidgen bigger. So they are independent in terms of what they look like, but depending on the tree, you can get them to look however you want. So they're styled and they are now heading to how do I. So back up here. Right. They won't necessarily appear in there at the moment like that. If we did another update of that, so in our table of contents, let's do an update. We've only got the errant one that we don't actually want. But in here, we can turn that off, turn on the how do I, and when it updates itself, there are the how do I questions. We can get even better than that. All right, let me come down here. And there is an image here that I am after, which is this one. So in my layers, let me grab hold of that image. And I'm going back to the top and I'm putting that in this frame, hopefully. This one here, let's see what it does with it. Right, let's make sure you are in the right frame. Which picture frame is it? That one. Right, hover over the middle, make sure it's in the right place, and it pops it in there. And what I want here is all the stuff from WWDC. So, WWDC 2022, which is a fraction higher. I have no idea why. We'll worry about that another day. Right, so let's just get down to here. No, what are you doing? Right. That is what I'm looking for. So I need to insert a table of contents. So text and another table of contents. And in it all goes. That is the default. That is what a table of contents would normally look like. Right, but how are we going to hook into this stuff down here? There's nothing there. Well, actually, there is. If you look there, I've left one so we can see it. It just says continuity camera. Literally just says that. In the styles, you can see you've got mood board captions. Right, I don't think we can see any of the others. Oh, we can. There they go. Craig Talks iPhone. Right. What I need to do with this is make sure that all of the captions, which are these blocks of text here, so if I just select them and zoom out, you should be able to see little blue squares where there's some text. There's one, etc. Right. They should be formatted with a text style of mood board captions. What I then need to do is edit that style so the colour of it has no fill. Now they've disappeared. So Craig and his continuity camera, you can't see it. Right. But we know what style they are. So to go back up to here and to get our WWDC table of contents, we need to be in there. We don't want a heading 1, we don't want a heading 2, we don't want a how do I, and we don't want letters either. But we do want mood board captions. And now we have a table of contents for something that you can't even see in the magazine, because we have hidden things. I'm just going to stop at that point and say thank you very much to Muriel for the super chat. That is much appreciated. Okay, so that's it officially, but I have a bonus. We like to have bonuses, don't we? So I particularly like that multiple table of contents. It's not that difficult once you get your head around the fact that the table of contents hook into the styles, and they do not have to be heading styles. They can be any kind of styles. Right, this one has been much requested, and I will be doing a longer video about it because you can take it quite far, but we haven't got time to take it all the way tonight. Right, it is how you deal with something that Affinity Publisher doesn't do, which is make a note of where an article is continued to and where it was continued from. So I need a file that I had. Where is the file that I had? That'd be good, wouldn't it? Was it that one? I do believe it was. Here we go. Right, so I've got a file. We've seen, this is just one that I did earlier, but we've seen it tonight. So I have this file. First thing I would do when I open a file is go look at the pages. Right, page 1, the story is continued on page 3. But let's assume this page here, because there's not much left of the story, what we could do with this is change it to a 1-column layout and mooch it over there and move it to another page, because it is literally just finishing it off, isn't it? So I'm going to take that and that. I am going to move them down a page, literally so they're just a little bit further away. Otherwise there wouldn't be much point, would there? Right, so I've got the start of the story up here, but when you get to the end, it's like, well, where's the rest of it? You know, there's only a paragraph and a half, but where is it? So you usually see continued on page X and continued on this bit here. It would say continued from page Y. In InDesign, that's an option on the text frame. You can just turn it on and off. It's not available in here. Right. Let me sort that out. So on this page, down at the bottom of here, we zoom into it. Now there is, in the video that I'm going to make, there's a way to make this much, much faster, but this is actually the way. Thank you, Debbie. Debbie has also used a super chat. Thank you very much. Right, so I'm going to make a place to put the text that we need to see, which is continued on page and then whatever. And are we actually going to see that in here? Heaven knows what silly style it's used. Right, continued on page, and then this would be on page whatever. Obviously, it would not look like that. And that tends to be lowercase as well. Right, but that's in essence what we want. What I do with it is make it grey, and something nice like Times New Roman works well, and it works even better with italics. So not bold, but yes to italics. And I would right align it. So it's going to be continued on page whatever, but we don't know what that is yet. Right. Make that a bit smaller. Right. And I would probably align that to the bottom alignment. Right, then I can place this wherever I like and change the wrap and all the rest of it. But it's going to be continued on page X. But where is page X? Glad you asked. Right, I'll leave that at page X at the moment, but I will just copy the entire block. I'm trying to work out actually what's the easiest way for you to understand this. Let's duplicate it here. Right, let's just duplicate the block. Right. Then the second one would say continued from page X. Did that just delete everything? Crying out loud. I'm making selections and it is like 5 seconds behind me. Oh wow, they're coming in thick and fast. Thank you, Dale. Appreciative of the super chat. Thank you very much. Right, so from page Y. Right. Obviously, page Y won't be any good, and we don't want to have to do this by hand. So, what I'm going to do with this one is say, text, insert, field, and I want to choose from here where it's going to finish. So it's the next frame number. So it's the page number from the next frame. All right, so it's saying page 2. We'll see about that. This one needs to be text, insert, fields, and previous frame page number. This one needs to be aligned the other way. So I'm going to align that to the left. Right, we can't see something there, but hopefully there is a code in there. It looks like there is. Right. Now, This is, if we have a look at it, that's actually on page 1, isn't it? But it's saying continued on page 2. So it's assuming it's page 2 at the moment. But it's not. It's going to be wherever this box is. Or is it? So I'm going to take this box. Come on, trying to get it to zoom out. That's it. Right, I'm going to move this box down here. So it's on page 2 at the moment, and I need it down there. And I need it at the top of that story. So I'm going to put it there. Right, there's our first issue with that. Yeah, that's where it needs to be, but it needs to have some wrap attached to it. So I'm applying some text wrap to it. We'll go square on that. No, we won't. We'll jump, and then it'll push it down. Right, and that's saying continued from page 4, but actually this actually isn't page. This is page 4, but it's not continued from page 4. It should say 1, shouldn't it? Those 2 text boxes are not talking about the frame with the story in it and the frame with the story in it. Here, they are talking about themselves. So, this one needs to be linked to the other one. In fact, I think I'm going to have to take the text out of it. Just realised. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to do it again, just to make absolutely certain that I'm right here. Okay, let's get rid of that. Let's go down here. Right. There's some text. Right, what I need to do with it is I need to create a linked text box with that. So, let me put the text box in that I had created and link the 2 text boxes together. Right, so we've got text box 1, there's text box 2. At this point, that didn't even do that, did it? Come on. Just get a text box. Right. So we've got some text in it. Awesome. Right, this text box needs to link with that text box. I can't even see the little handle at the moment, so I'm going to have to zoom in, aren't I? Oh, this is getting messy. Come on. Let me get this. And if necessary, that I need to link that to that. Now it's saying continued on page 1. Which is not page 1, never mind. So this text then does need to be formatted like the other one. So what I'm going to do with it is take out the text we had here, which was continued on page 1, put it in there. But we want it continued from page. Right, so the only difference between this and me doing it the last time was I hadn't got the text boxes linked. Right, now those text boxes are linked. This one does not have the code in it that it needs for a page number though. So I will move to the end and I will put in the code. So insert text, fields, previous frame number. Right. Now what I need to do is to move this out of the way because we want to get this to the continued from. So I'm moving it down there. If you're wondering why I'm dragging it and not cutting and pasting it, if I cut and paste it, it loses the connection and then it doesn't work. So I am moving these up so I can see both pages and get that to the top of the next page. So drag it all the way down to here, move this up so I can see it and pop that in there. Now I need to apply the wrap to it. So bring the wrap up and do a jump wrap. That pushes it down and it says continued from page 1. That should be aligned to the left, which aligns it over there. Continued from page 1. If I go up here, continued on page 5, which indeed it is. It's that page there and that is page 5, and that is how you do it. Thank you, Peter. Peter's at it as well. Amazing. Amazing. Thank you very much, Peter. That's just another super chat. Thank you. So that is how you do continued from and continued on. It's a bit fiddly. It would be so much better if it was just an option on a text frame. And then it would automatically do it based on what text frame that is linked to. But it's not that difficult. There is a way, I know it's a lot of steps and it's fiddly. There is a way to automate it, and that'll be in the video that I make. As soon as I can cool down and I'm not sat here in a puddle. Right, let's head off. That was a long one, wasn't it? Oh, but we had such fun. So, what did we actually look at? We did flat planning, we did asset collection. We will be doing a session on Eagle at some point. We created a cover. Then we looked at the base master pages for page numbers and nesting master pages. We looked at magazine layouts and why you may use sections. Then we made some extra master pages by unbaking the cake from a layout. Working with external files, there's 2 different methods and why you may choose to use which one and when. Then we made a magic table of contents that really was magic. And as was mentioned in the chat, I can't remember who, but somebody mentioned in the chat, there's lots of different things that you could do with that. And there is. As I'm prepping for this session and thinking, I can't talk about the baseline grid and the styles and this again. Each session, even if it's completely different, like a magazine, builds on previous sessions that I've done. So you need to know about styles, you need to know maybe the table of contents, and then you pull it together in a different way. So they all build on one another. And that was how the table of contents worked. And then there was the bonus, which was the continued on and continued from. Right, we do have future sessions all lined up. The first one of those is next week, where we're going to look at creating tutorials in Affinity Publisher. So you had a sneak preview tonight. It was the 9 utilities. How did I create the layout and make it work, etc. There's also how you would do other tutorials. So that will be same time, same place next week. In the meanwhile, everything we do is available on demand at YouTube, youtube.com/Elaine Giles. We have 2 dedicated playlists. We have the All Things Affinity playlist, which is Affinity Publisher, Affinity Photo and Affinity Designer. Whole tutorials on those. We have an Affinity Publisher dedicated playlist, which is just the Affinity Publisher videos. And lately we have done mastering page layouts. A good one, considering tonight, is how to create a table of contents. So that was dedicated to a table of contents, but it didn't have the magic table of contents in this. We also did creating an index. You can only create one index. There is a dirty hack, but we didn't go into it. But yes, you can create an index as well. Not really relevant for a magazine, I wouldn't have thought, but definitely for a book. Then we took 2 weeks and looked at photo books. So the first one was a basic intro to photo books. And then we looked at advanced techniques, of which we've got plenty left. And a little one, short video about snapshots and how they're not officially supported in Publisher, but there's always a workaround and you can make it work. Right, it would be great if you subscribed. YouTube likes subscribers, but not as much as I do. And there is a notification bell which will let you know when we're going live so you don't miss it. We, of course, love you. And if you love us, could you give the video a like? It really makes a difference with YouTube. I send out first notice of the sessions to my list, which is at elainegiles.com/VIP. I also send out an email with links to specific parts of every tutorial so you can go directly to the little bit that you want to see. In the meanwhile, we're going into Q&A at last. This is going to be an epic, isn't it? Right, so questions. Have you got questions over there? Oh, Mike hasn't got questions over there. I'm trying to get so I can turn his microphone on. And it's not having it. It's not going on the other screen. Because you're just playing with my mind, aren't you? Ah, there we go. Right, well, if you've not got questions anyway, shall I look at what's going on in here? Oh, right, I'm going to work up from the bottom. Hang on. There's always catch-up, says Renee. Right, is this because folks have got to go? Yes, we ran long, but it was worth it. Oh, I like that. Is that chili? Is it chili cayenne? Yeah. That's like peppers, isn't it? I'm not good with stuff like that, am I? Do you remember that? Oh, good news locally, Mike. Do you remember we went to that Thai restaurant having been told that the food was mild? It wasn't. Blew your head off. They're shutting down and it's opening up as a Chinese next week. So, that's me sorted. Much preferred Chinese.
We're not leaving the house.
No, I know, but if we wanted to, we could. Hello from New Orleans. Always fancied visiting New Orleans. But, you know, I'm not making it to the end of the street at the moment, unfortunately. But there you go.
Right, there's a question.
Oh, a question. Right, your microphone's on. Where you go.
I know you've done a mag, but how do you do foot and end notes?
Right, foot notes and end notes are not supported in Affinity Publisher at the moment. All the dirty hacks I've heard of are hideous. It just doesn't support footnotes and endnotes at the moment. It is the #1 requested feature, and I personally can't believe they added data merge before they did footnotes and endnotes. So with it being highly, highly requested, I'm hopeful it'll be in the next major version. They are working at the moment on the iPad version. I don't know whether there would be an update to the desktop version at the same time, but it'd be grand if they added the footnotes and endnotes, but it doesn't do footnotes and endnotes at the moment, unfortunately. Oh, hang on. How am I pronouncing that? Is it Sheol? The €10, thank you very much. Thank you. Peter says the time evaporates on MacBytes. It does. It just goes. I was thinking that one was going to be quite short, but then it wasn't, as you do. I'll know that now. Right. Thank you to everybody saying thank you. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just working backwards. Frankie says so much to take in. I thought I was getting a handle on Affinity Publisher, but my eyes are crossing right now. We'll watch again. The thing is with Affinity Publisher, you only need to bother as many features as you need for what it is you're doing right now. But as your needs change, then you may need to add in another feature and another feature. And once you've mastered multiple features, you then start to see the links between the two, or three, or four. So, the table of contents, you can't do that. Well, you can if you understand styles. If you want what I built tonight, it's easy, but you do need to think about it. And if you know how to make a table of contents with heading styles, but you don't know anything about text styles, then in your mind it wouldn't be possible. So it's like linking them together. Same with the snapshots. The snapshots thing was, Renee asked in Slack, you were complaining, weren't you, Renee? It didn't do snapshots. And as quick as a flash, I'm like, well, why don't you just studio link it? So I thought, well, maybe that doesn't work. So I went off to have a look, and it did. Again, it's two different features, but this time from two different applications. But if you know both, then you can link them together. So I totally see where you're coming from. You think you're there, and then you think, oh, hang on a minute. If I did X and if I did Y, then this would either give me something new, or it would make what I'm doing a lot easier. It's like when you first learn that styles can cascade. It like opens up new worlds. Okay. We were wrapping up, so I'm up to Chili Cayennes. I am wrapping up, but we always have Q&A. So it's not over till it's over, if you're with me.
Are you working your way up because there's more questions?
This question's coming at the bottom now, isn't there?
Yeah.
Right, away you go with the questions.
Does someone know why Publisher sometimes generates new styles by itself? From XYZ it creates XYZ1 and so on.
That can happen for a number of reasons. If you copy and paste content from one file to another and it's already got a style on it with the same name, it will generate an XYZ1. If you insert a document, if you place a document, or you add pages from a document, it will do that. What you need to do is keep a very careful watch on the styles. It could be that XYZ and XYZ1 are identical, but they will impact the style tree. So you may have something then defined in XYZ1, and if you delete that, then you lose the style. So styles are something I still keep an eye on. I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, hang on, an extra one's appeared. It could be that you've added something from the asset panel, and that had a style on it, and now you've got a 1. And if you do that often enough, you could end up with a 2 and a 3 and a 4 as well. So that's where it's coming from.
Another question.
Right, where you go?
I've got all the Affinity tools. I've only played with AP. Should I go through your AD and AP classes before trying to jump into Publisher? P must be photo.
No, I think the first P is Publisher.
No.
Oh.
No, should I go through your AD and AP classes before jumping into Publisher? So therefore,
right.
Publisher must P must be photo.
You don't really need to. They all kind of stand alone. Obviously, like this session tonight, I'm mentioning things I've done in other sessions. Just really because I've had the time. You saw how long it took tonight. I've had the time in the other sessions to deep dive those specifics. So in a way, it does build up. If you did them in date order, you might actually find that a benefit. But each one can stand alone. if you're with me. They're like a web, but they can stand alone. In terms of whether you would need to do photo and designer first, not really. I don't think it matters where you start, which one you start with. I started with designer because that was the only one that they brought out. And then they brought photo out, so I went with that. And for me, publisher was the last one. Yes, it's handy to know that, for instance, there's the studio panels and that they are similar in each app, but there's no real prerequisites to going straight to publisher if that's where you need to be for the documents you need to create. So no, it's not really sequential. Just pick and choose at the beginning the kind of features that you need to use. Now, obviously, if you're going to look at styles, then start with there's a styles session on there. Can you put the link in, Mike? That's a kind of base thing to understand the styles. But other than that, I would say just access the things as you need them. And designer and photo, I tend to think of satellite apps now to publisher. I do use designer to make posters on a regular basis. So the poster you're looking at now was done in designer. I've got hundreds and hundreds of designer files, but if I were to, unless it was something really complicated, if I was doing something for a magazine, I'd probably just do it in publisher. And the beauty of the whole suite is that the file format for all 3 applications is identical. That's how come I was able to say to Renee, this is how you use the snapshots. The snapshots are saved in the file, but the file's a publisher file. Yes, but the file's an Affinity file, and they're equal. They're all the same. So no, there's not really a chosen way to do it. Just dive in. And if you've got any questions, you know where I am.
Another question.
Okay, where you go.
Can I find all the places where a style is used?
Yes, you can. So we did that in, which session was that? I will show you now how to do that. So let's pop out of there. Oh dear. No, let's not move on. Let's pop out of it, I said. Right. Don't know what I've got in here. That's not really a long enough document to make it worthwhile, is it? Let's have a look in here. Right, we've got in here multiple instances of a heading 2. We've got contents and editorial and letters, and all of these are a heading 2. So first of all, you need the find and replace dialog box up here. Now, you can put text in here, obviously, and it will find it. But if you want to search for something else, you have the cog at the top. And in there you can search for format, which would be if you had yellow text and you wanted rid of it, you could search for that. If you wanted to search for character styles, you can search for that. It's going to be a paragraph style. So let's say I wanted to find all the instances of a heading 2. So I'm looking for heading 2. I hit the find and it shows me the ones that are heading 2 according to this, but I'm not convinced that that is quite right. But it does show you that where it's formatted as a heading 2, and it actually shows it you in there. So if I went up here and did a clear on that, so reset the formatting and choose one that's got more entries. So our step title, wasn't it? Come on, don't disappear again. Step title there, and did a find, then it's showing you those step titles there. So yes, you can search for styles, but you can take that further. You can actually search. I did a search once. Which one was it I did that search? It was a book I was working with. I'll have to have a look at my slides and see which one it was. It was in the last few weeks. So if anyone can remember, put that in the chat, but otherwise let me have a look. It was either, I've narrowed it down to 3. It was either page layout, mastering page layouts, table of contents, or an index. It'd be an index, I think, but I can't remember which. It was when I was formatting things and I brought some text in and it was 15 points and I wanted it to have the body tag applied. But within it, there were heading styles. And I couldn't apply it to everything, it would have wiped out the heading styles. So I searched for 15 points and replaced it with a heading 2. And it worked. Right, any more questions?
Renee would like you to explain Slack. I explained it in the chat.
Slack is like somewhere, it's a private place, so you have to be a member if you want to chat, but you can chat. We have different kind of channels. So we've got a channel for freebies and special offers. We've got tech chat, we've got random chat, and we share stuff. So if you want to put in there tutorials you want to see in the future, you could do that. We also announce the events in there. And other things. It's like a private Twitter without the nastiness. Everybody's lovely and friendly. So think social media, but nice. That's Slack.
And the link is in the chat.
Link's in the chat. It's totally free. You just need to create an account and say hello. And you will get lots of lovely MacBites family members back saying to you hello.
Is there an easy way to compare styles?
When you say compare, in what way? Compare like XYZ with XYZ1. I don't think there is, no. What's that thing that we always talk about in Word? Is it the organiser?
The organiser.
Yeah, in Word you can do that. You can see the styles, I think, but no, there isn't an option in here. I can't remember when we did the styles one, if we did managing styles in terms of importing and exporting them. You can do that, but you're not really seeing the physical difference between them. The best way to work with styles is, even if you're in different documents of totally different types, if you use a similar naming convention. So if headings are heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, and you've got your base style and your body style and your bullet style, irrespective of the fact they look different in different documents, you get used to your styles. At that point, you can make a certain set of styles the default for a certain document. When you then import stuff, you need to be aware that you are potentially, even if the style is the same style, you're going to end up with these one styles. So maybe import stuff as plain text and then apply the style from the document you're working with. But I agree with you. I think that is so annoying. I think there should be a way that you can just bring stuff in. And if the style clashes, if the name clashes, tell me at that point. Don't just, on your own volition, make a 1 and let me find it later when we're up to 17, because then it's a nightmare to try and fix it. But no, that's not something they've added in at the moment, unfortunately. Right, anything else?
No.
Right. It would be good if all of you could join us on Slack. It is the MacBites community. That's our podcast. It's kind of on hiatus, isn't it, inadvertently? But as you saw, welcome back. We'll see. Yeah, we do. You can ask questions in there. There's a place for critiques, isn't there, of work and stuff. There's all sorts in there. And as Renee says, we're on there every day. The sessions are like once or twice a week, but we're on there every day. So you can get an answer to a question or whatever. Right, okay then, if the last call for questions before we head into the 3-hour mark and people start crying when they see the length of it. I will get the timings up as soon as I can. And hopefully you will be able to join us in Slack. If not, and hopefully I will see you next week when we're looking at how to create effective tutorials. So you've already had a sneak peek of what it looks like, but how did it get to look like that? Yes, I wondered that as well. It was interesting, let's put it like that. Teaser text words. Oh, indeed, Peter, absolutely. I hope you'll find us. You can't start it now. Whenever you'll find it. Whenever. Macbites.co.uk, and you get a link from there as well. Right. Okay then. I am going to head off because I'm melting. As is my computer, as you saw. But I'm quite proud of it tonight that it managed to strut its stuff. It did manage to cope, albeit. Not exactly admirably, it did all right. And hopefully next week it'll be cooler. But I did notice in the weather app that it said Monday and Tuesday was going to be hot again. I wish they wouldn't keep doing this. We were not used to this weather here. We have central heating, but we have no air conditioning at all. So they're saying that Sunday and Monday next week is going to be hotter than Monday this week. So, if the computer's all right, I'll see you next Monday. If not, I best move it to Tuesday or Wednesday, according to the weather. But we'll see. We'll see. So thank you for being with me tonight. I hope you found that useful, and I hope you'll be able to join us again in the future. But for the moment, I'm going to say good night from me.
And good night from me.
And we will both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.